Hey guys, tonight we're going far, far back, farther than Rome, farther than Egypt as we usually imagine it, to the cradle of civilization, ancient Mesopotamia, and we're going to explore how the earliest human societies managed to wake up on time. Yes, tonight's story is about how the first alarm clock was invented thousands of years ago, beneath the starlit skies of Sumer and Babylon. Before we begin, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from. What time is it for you? Is the sun already down, or are you tucking in early? I really enjoy reading through the comments. It's like seeing little lanterns glowing all over the world. Drop your location and your time below if you'd like to share. Now, as always, take a moment to get comfortable. Tuck the blanket a little tighter. Let the phone rest gently in your hand, or maybe on your pillow. Let your breathing slow and soften. You're safe now. Nothing else needs to happen tonight except sleep and maybe a bit of dreaming. Let your mind travel with me now, across time, across the dry plains and shifting rivers of Mesopotamia, to the first ticking thoughts of humanity's timekeepers. You awaken slowly, but it's not quite you. It's a version of you, a self long ago, wrapped in a linen shift, skin warm with the dust of a Sumerian summer night. The air is still cool now, just before the sun rises, before the streets of Nippur fill with the clang and rattle of daily life. The city sleeps mostly, but not you. Not because of birds or dreams, but because something, somewhere, just dropped. A soft plop, like a stone falling into a bowl of water, then a trickle, a slight hiss. You sit up in the darkness, bare feet finding the clay tile floor. That sound. It was the clepsydra, the water clock. Carefully filled the night before, it has emptied now to a line etched near the base. That line, you know, is the boundary between night and day. It means it's time. It means wake up. You rise and tie your hair. The city will soon wake, and with it the great temple of Enlil. You are one of the temple's junior astronomer clerks. Every fourth night it is your duty to rise before the stars fade, to climb the ziggurat and mark the fading of the Pleiades, the turning of time. But how do you know when to wake? You do not have a rooster. Roosters are unreliable. You do not count sheep. Sheep are loud, and their sleep is erratic. You rely on a bowl, a vessel, and a hole the size of a barley grain. You rely on water, gravity, and the slow, steady passage of time. The clepsydra. It is made of ceramic, black glazed, with small cuneiform notches carved down the inner sides. Your master poured the water last night, estimating the moon's position and adjusting for the humidity. The hole at the bottom was tested. Too wide and it drains too fast, too narrow and you'll oversleep. It is not perfect, but it is consistent. And so it is that water, patiently leaking from a clay jar, becomes your alarm clock. You step outside. The courtyard is silent, but for the gentle crackle of a low oil lamp still burning near the grain stores. The scent of warm earth and baked brick mixes with the last breaths of the night wind. Above, the stars still hold court. Mesopotamian skies are like velvet, endlessly deep, pricked by tiny lights that your people have mapped, named, and prayed to. You look up as your ancestors have, tracing the lion, the bull, the great twins. You walk barefoot through the temple compound. A night dog lifts its head but does not bark. It recognizes you. You are part of this ritual now, a moving piece of the time machine made of stone and stars. There is something very quiet, very old about this task, and something comforting. You climb the steps of the ziggurat slowly, carefully. They are steep and narrow. The bricks are warm from the day before, still holding the sun in their cores. Above you, the high platform awaits, a place not just of astronomy, but of timekeeping, of calendars carved in clay, and minds trained to read the sky. This morning, as you settle into position and unroll a thin reed scroll, you are not alone. Not truly, because in a way, all of Mesopotamia is rising with you. You are one of many. Bakers preparing bread for the workers of scribes sharpening reeds in Lagash, farmers who will soon lead donkeys to the fields of Kish. All of them rely on time, and time now is no longer just the sun's lazy arc. It is measured, controlled, divided, ticked. Not by gears, not by springs, but by water. Let yourself rest here, on the top of the ziggurat. You can feel the first golden crack of the eastern sky peeking over the Euphrates. The water clock below in your chamber has done its work. You are awake. Time is moving. You, my friend, have just experienced one of the first alarm clocks in human history, and this is only the beginning of our journey. The story drifts south now, following the curving silver of the Euphrates as it slips past barley fields and small reed villages until it reaches Uruk, the great walled city, older than legend, older than names, where kings were once gods and writing was born in soft clay. You have come here as an apprentice of time, sent by your master in Nippur to study under the famed priest-scholars of Inanna's temple, for it is said that in Uruk time itself is counted with a clarity unknown elsewhere. You enter the city through its monumental gate in the hour just after dawn, when the heat has not yet begun to press against the skin, and the stone roads still shimmer with the remnants of night. The walls of Uruk are colossal, stretching toward the sky in layered mud brick, each tier stacked by hands long dead, each stone recording the will of kings and the weight of centuries. The people move through the streets with a practiced rhythm, water sellers, fishmongers, scribes with styluses tucked behind their ears, and above them, atop high platforms, priests already track the shadow lines that fall from tall wooden gnomons, planted like stakes in the earth. The Temple of Inanna rises at the centre of the city like a mountain carved by human hands. It is older than the ziggurat in Nippur, more worn by wind, but grander in its reach, its levels built not just for worship but for observation, its inner rooms filled with instruments made of bronze and stone. You are led by a silent novice through halls etched with pictographs, each image a scene of rituals, of measurements, of sacrifice and celebration. At last you are brought to a small chamber lined with tablets, hundreds of them, each inscribed with time records, rainfall counts, flood predictions, star risings. The air is dry and still, holding the breath of 1,000 years. Here lives the master chronologer of Uruk, an old man whose back has curled with age and whose fingers are ink-stained to the knuckles. He does not greet you with words. Instead, he holds up a tablet, smooth and pale, fresh from the kiln. Upon it are 2 columns of symbols, on the left, markings of time, on the right, notes on flow rates. He gestures for you to sit. Your days in Uruk begin like this. Quiet study in the tablet room, walks across the temple's upper terraces to observe the changing position of the sun, the whisper of incense smoke curling through lattice windows, the trickle of ceremonial fountains, not decorative but functional, part of the hydraulic heart of the temple. It is here that you begin to understand how water in this place has become a sacred keeper of time. The priests here do not rely on guesswork. They measure water by volume, by temperature, by shape of vessel. They observe how the speed of the drip changes through the seasons, how clay expands in heat and constricts in cold, and how these small differences can cost minutes, even hours. To combat this, they build standardized vessels, symmetrical, weight-tested, thin-lipped and heavy-bottomed, each one burned in identical kilns, their holes punched with reeds measured against fixed rods. You spend 1 week learning only to pour water properly, to avoid splashing, to count the flow by breath alone. It is meditative work, but exacting. There is no room for haste, and over time, you realize the water clock is not just a tool for waking, not merely an alarm. It is the temple's spine. It determines when sacrifices are made, when merchants open stalls, when guards change shifts. It tells the priests when the stars will reappear after dusk, when to begin the long calculations of the lunar calendar. In one session, you assist in the preparation for a festival. The entire city will feast in honor of Dumuzi's return from the underworld, and the timing of the ceremony must align with the heliacal rising of Sirius. You work with 2 elder scribes, recalibrating the temple's largest clepsydra, which has been built into a shallow cistern surrounded by white plaster walls. The water must begin dripping at a precise moment in the night, and reach a marked line by the time Sirius appears over the eastern wall. If it is early, the ritual will be void. If late, the omen spoiled. You fill the vessel slowly, muttering the words you were taught in Nippur, though the scribes here do not speak. Their eyes are on the dripping water, each drop falling into a small bronze bowl that resonates with a faint, soft chime. It is the most delicate sound you have ever heard, like time whispering. Hours pass in silence. The sky darkens. Stars appear one by one. Then when the bowl is nearly full, Sirius rises, piercing the horizon with its sudden white fire. The bowl sings one final time, and the priest marks the moment on a clay tablet with a single straight line. That line, you later realise, will be baked, filed, and stored in the archive for future generations. An eternal record of one night's precision. As you walk back to your quarters in the lower compound, the streets of Uruk are alive with laughter and song, torches flicker, offerings are laid at thresholds, and behind all of it, beneath the dancing light and voices, there is a rhythm, constant, unchanging, invisible yet ever-present, the steady beat of dripping water. You begin to hear it even in silence, like a heartbeat. In Uruk, time is no longer the sun's path or the moon's mood. It is man-made, measured, divided and captured, and in this place, in this age, that is a kind of magic. Weeks pass in Uruk, and the heat settles into everything. Your sandals, your scalp, even the clay beneath your fingers feels weary by midday. Yet each morning begins the same, with the soft shuffle of sandals against stone, the rhythmic pulse of dripping water, and the silence that settles over the temple before speech is allowed to stir the air. You've begun to understand the deeper patterns of the place, not just the movements of celestial bodies or the mechanisms of clepsydras, but the subtler rhythms, how one scribe breathes slightly faster when recording lunar phases, how the head priest walks in a perfect square before each reading, how the lowest of the temple dogs begins to whimper just before the water clock signals dusk. It is here, in this still and orderly world, that you meet her. The High Priestess of Inanna is not what you expected. She is neither aged nor adorned in excess. She speaks in a tone as quiet as the dripping clocks, and moves with the same fluidity. Her chamber is high in the temple, positioned to receive both moonlight and starlight through slatted screens. You're summoned not for punishment nor instruction, but because of a mistake you did not know you made. 3 nights earlier, you'd been tasked with noting the time of moonrise using one of the temple's portable clepsydras, a smaller, travel-sized vessel made of smooth basalt. You thought you'd done well, your notations careful, the alignment exact. But she found a flaw. She explains it slowly, without reprimand. The vessel you used had been slightly warped in the last firing, just enough that its flow rate was altered, imperceptible at first, but detectable in the timing of your observation. It was not a failure, she says. It was a gift. She asks if you know the phrase Beru Shumelu. You don't. She explains. It means the echo of time, the idea that even when time is not being directly measured, no water falling, no stars moving, it still leaves traces, echoes, within everything around it. The shape of a shadow on a courtyard wall, the scent of damp earth just before the first rain of the season, the way the body stirs a moment before the clepsydra signals. It is this echo, she tells you, that the earliest timekeepers sought, not the control of time, but the ability to listen to its voice. She shows you her personal clock, and it is nothing like the temple's machines. It is made of reed and gold, impossibly light, barely larger than her palm, and it does not drip but collects. At night she leaves it open to the air, and dew slowly fills a small cup at the centre. When it reaches a certain weight, the cup tilts, spilling its contents onto a metal plate with a faint click. It is too delicate for ritual use, but she trusts it for dreams. That is what she calls it, the dream clock. You begin to visit her chamber more often, not as a student but as a listener. She teaches you nothing directly, but always you leave with more questions than you arrived with. She speaks of time not as a line, but as a garden, planted, tended, harvested. She reminds you that before the gods gave humans cities and irrigation, they gave them sleep and sunrise. She speaks of time's cruelty, of course, how kings age, how water evaporates, but also of its kindness, the predictability of dawn, the return of stars, the certainty that the moon will always begin again. One night she brings you a tablet, thinner than usual, made of light silt clay that cracks easily if fired too long. On it are etched 6 columns of numbers, intervals, measurements, observations, and a small mark in the bottom corner, a crescent enclosed in a circle. You recognise the symbol. It is from Eridu, the oldest of cities, where legend says Enki first taught humans how to build channels and harness rivers. The numbers describe a water clock, unlike any you've seen. Instead of a vessel with a single hole, it uses 2, one to drain, one to fill, and its purpose is not to measure a single interval, but to match two competing flows. She asks if you understand it. You do not. Not yet. She says nothing more, just hands you a vessel shaped like the tablet's sketch, and tells you to listen, so you begin to wake earlier. You take the vessel into the temple gardens where the scent of date flowers and cool stone surround you. You sit with it, watching the two chambers fill and empty, slowly, imprecisely, echoing each other. You begin to note the sound of each drop, how the tone shifts with the fullness of the vessel. You realise there's music in it, notes of unequal length, a kind of rhythm that doesn't repeat. And somewhere inside that rhythm you begin to understand. It is not just about waking on time, not even about rituals. The true purpose of the water clock is to make visible what is otherwise unseen, the passing of what lives and dies in silence. It is about bringing time into the human world. It is about making memory out of motion. You never ask her why she shared the tablet with you, but weeks later, as you prepare to return north to Nippur, she presses a small wax seal into your palm, the crescent and circle again, and says only, "Time does not flow, but it leaves a current. Follow it." You leave Uruk under a pale sky, the moon still faint above the rooftops, and in your satchel, nestled between your sandals and a wrapped portion of dried fish, is the dream clock. Silent. Still, waiting. The journey back to Nippur is long, the river winding in slow turns like a great old serpent asleep beneath the heat. You ride part way on a reed boat, the kind with curved prow and woven hull sealed with pitch, and you spend most of the trip sitting cross-legged beneath a canopy, the dream clock resting in your lap, still untriggered. The water sings softly against the sides of the vessel, and as you drift past smaller villages, places with names too old to record, you begin to notice how every community, no matter how modest, bears its own markers of time. A pole with notches to measure flood levels, a ring of standing stones casting shadows in a known pattern, a line of soot above the hearth, marked anew each year by the first cooking fire of the harvest. These are clocks too, in a way, though they speak not in minutes or hours but in seasons, in rain, in memory. You return to Nippur thinner, darker, quieter. The temple seems smaller now, its steps worn familiar by your feet and the passage of time. Your master greets you with a glance, a nod. He sees the dream clock and says nothing. He simply gestures toward the archive room, where the oldest tablets are kept. You have been granted entry now. Trusted. Not because of knowledge alone, but because you've lived beside time, watched it drip, collect, vanish. The archive chamber is unlike the rest of the temple. Lower, cooler, its ceiling lined with rushes to catch dust. The scent is different too. Not incense, but dry earth and faint mould, the breath of old clay. Rows of shelves hold tablets organised by rain, by star, by season. You begin your new duties here, not writing, but listening. The archivists are a separate order, neither priests nor scribes, but something in between. They wear simple robes, pale, and speak little. They do not measure time, they record its passing, its failures, its changes. They do not predict, they remember. It is here you learn of the flood tablets. They are not stored among the usual records. They rest in a sealed alcove behind a curtain of woven reeds, and access is granted only when the water reaches a certain level outside, when the river, bloated with meltwater from the north, creeps toward the higher stones of the temple wall. It is then that the archivists gather, silent, barefoot, and bring out the oldest of the clay memories. Tablets etched not in Sumerian but in a hybrid tongue. Older still, fragments of language that no longer exist in full. One of the tablets is wide, broken in two places, its edges fused by fire. The characters are shallow, worn, but still legible to the trained eye. You're asked to sit with it for hours, to trace its lines with a brush made of feather reed, dipped not in ink but in oil, which brings out the shadows of the carvings. The text is not a warning, nor a prophecy. It is a record of time interrupted. The tablet tells of a flood, not a mythic deluge of gods and boats, but a true flood, recorded in the 5th year of King Enmenbaraj C's reign. The clepsydras had failed. Water poured too fast, vessels floated from their stations, markings erased in the chaos. Whole days were lost, devoured by the rising river, crops drowned. Rituals missed their hour. The stars still moved above, but no one was watching, and in the aftermath the archivists did not erase the error. They etched it into clay. This is the lesson they preserved. Even time can be disrupted. You spend your nights in the archive now, sleeping in a cot near the sealed shelves, and slowly, as the rains subside and the air thickens with the promise of late summer, you begin to sense what the archivists feel daily. That time is not only something to be measured, but something that can fail. The clocks, the stars, the moon, they are tools, and tools can break. But memory remains. You understand now why the High Priestess gave you the seal, not for status, but as a reminder that when clocks fall silent, someone must remember how they once spoke. One evening, you are given a task. A small settlement to the east, near the marshes, has built a rudimentary clepsydra but cannot make it keep time through the night. You are to travel there, observe, and return with a report. It is a simple assignment, a gesture of trust. You prepare your pack, taking with you a fresh tablet, a stylus, and the dream clock. You arrive after 2 days' walk, the road lined with dying grasses and silent herons. The village is no more than 30 houses, a shrine, and a central square with a well and a sunken basin. The clepsydra is there, a large uneven vessel of local clay, wide-mouthed and unglazed, already cracked at the base. The hole is too large. The markings inside are smudged. At night it leaks faster in the cool air. The priest, a tired woman with salt-streaked hair, admits she cannot rise in time for the pre-dawn chant. Her body stirs late. The clock cannot wake her. You do not speak of failure. You simply take out your tools. You measure the vessel's depth. You test the flow. You carve a narrower channel. You build a smaller bowl within the larger one, using a ring of smooth pebbles to control the rate. It is crude, imperfect, but it slows the water. That night, you sleep near the shrine, and just before the stars begin to fade, the new clepsydra finishes its course. The priest wakes. Her chant begins. You leave the next day. The dream clock remains behind. When you return to Nipper, your master asks nothing, only places a new tablet on your desk. Blank. You know what to do. The rise of a card brings a shift you feel in the wind before it ever reaches your door. A change in the air, in the stone, in the way messengers move more quickly through the temple gates. Sargon has declared a new order, not only of rule and territory but of rhythm, and with his banners comes the need for synchronization, for time not kept in solitude but coordinated across vast lands. You are summoned to Akkad not as a servant of the temple, but as an advisor to the newly founded Central Archive of the North. The journey is longer this time, weeks along the rivers and narrow paths, through fields still bearing the scars of conquest. Villages burn in silence behind you. Others bloom with new clay walls and unfamiliar flags. You travel with soldiers, their footsteps measured, their campfires lit at fixed intervals, 3 drips of water between each guard rotation, a silent echo of your own training. Akkad is different. Its walls are higher, but not yet weathered. The streets are angular, planned, cut from the ambitions of a man who desires not only cities, but order. Here, the clocks do not drip, they strike. Great bronze bells have been hung from wooden towers above the administrative quarters, and they are sounded at fixed intervals by temple boys with oil-marked fingers and sun-dark skin. The bells ring not by instinct or divine timing, but by fire. In the centre of each bell tower sits a large oil lamp, its wick measured to burn at a known rate. When the flame reaches a red thread wrapped around the reservoir, it is time to strike. You are shown this by a steward with a voice like dry bark and eyes that never leave the flame. He explains the method. Each wick is twisted to a known tightness, soaked in a measured blend of sesame and reed oil. The flame height determines the hour. When it flares briefly, the bell is rung once. If it gutters, twice. The system is not sacred. It is mechanical, functional, and it works. You are given quarters near the northern record house, where scribes sit not in prayerful silence but in fast, efficient rows, copying lists of tribute, dates of campaigns, supply shipments. They write with speed, not reverence, and the air smells not of incense but of ink and sweat. There are clocks here too, but no clepsydras. Instead, hour candles made from compressed tallow mark the flow of work. A senior scribe trims them every hour with a curved knife, slicing away the used wax and adjusting the wick. The flame crackles, hisses, resumes. Time here is industrial. Time here is conquest. At first, it unsettles you. The absence of silence, of dripping water, of the echo of sacred hours, leaves your thoughts untethered. You walk the avenues of Akkad in the late hours, trying to hear the hum of the stars again, the rhythm of the garden time the high priestess once spoke of. But all you hear are feet, carts, hammers, bells. Until one night, as you pass beneath a half-built colonnade of the temple to Ishtar, you hear something faint, delicate. A ringing, not of bronze, but of clay. You follow the sound to a small alcove behind the main shrine, where a girl no older than 12 tends a row of vessels lit by thin tapers. She's not an official keeper, but the daughter of a southern priest, brought north during the consolidation of temples. She tells you quietly that her mother once used clepsydras to wake for stargazing, and she missed the sound of water, so she made her own, smaller, simpler. She fills them at dusk and waits until the drip slows to nothing. Then she trims the flame, one world blending with another. You ask her how she measures the flow. She says she listens, that it is not perfect, but it's enough. Sometimes it's the only way she knows night has ended. You speak to no one of this. But the next day, you request permission to design a new chamber in the archive compound. A room for calibrated silence, as you name it. It is approved without question. Inside, you reconstruct a clepsydra system modelled after Uruk's design, with minor adjustments for Akkadian humidity. You use local stone, polish the inner surfaces, and inscribe the vessels not with gods' names, but with simple numbers. The chamber is dim, lit by a single steady lamp, and every hour a bell rings not from the towers, but from within, triggered by a floating reed that rises and tips a ceramic lever. At first, the archivists ignore it. Then one begins to time his notes to its rhythm. Another uses it to regulate candle use. Slowly, the bell becomes known as the silent hour. Not because it is soundless, but because it demands no command, no flame to watch, no thread to burn, just water, gravity, and the old rhythm returning beneath the stone. You stay in Akkad longer than intended. You revise the bell system's flowcharts. You introduce a notation for flame wick length based on oil density, and in your ledger, next to the tallies of shipments and decrees, you draw a small crescent and circle. No one asks what it means. But in the quiet chamber, when the bell sounds, you sometimes think you hear her voice. Not speaking, just breathing. As if time itself were listening. Akkad fades behind you like a dream, the echoes of bells replaced once more by the drip of water and the faint rustling of papyrus scrolls. Your destination now is Sippar, the city famed for its great ziggurat and the temple of Shamash, the sun god and divine arbiter of justice. Here you're drawn not by politics or war, but by the promise of knowledge carried on the shoulders of astronomers and timekeepers who've devoted their lives to reading the heavens. Sippar breathes differently. The air is cooler, tempered by the nearby Euphrates, and the nights are deeper here, darker, almost velvet in their vastness. You enter the observatory, a stone structure perched at the ziggurat's base, its walls etched with star charts and planetary cycles. The lead astronomer, a thin man with deep-set eyes that seem to hold the whole sky within them, welcomes you without words, offering instead a slate inscribed with the precise movements of the sun, moon, and Venus over the coming months. You watch as they align long rods and use shadow sticks at dawn, measuring time not in hours but in moments, the passing of sunlight across the courtyard's sandstone floor, the gradual tilt of the earth as it shifts toward evening. Time here is cyclical, endless, marked by the dance of celestial bodies whose patterns both confound and guide. The astronomers speak in soft tones about Mul, the stars, and the importance of their constellations for planting and harvest, for festivals and omens. But it is in their quietest chamber that you find something new, an alarm unlike any you have seen, built to wake the priests before dawn's first light. It is a water clock, yes, but accompanied by something unexpected. Hollowed reeds and small clay whistles set strategically around the chamber. As water flows steadily through channels, it lifts tiny levers that open these whistles one by one, releasing a series of soft, almost musical notes. The sound is faint but persistent, like the sighing of the wind through reeds. You watch the demonstration at night, sitting cross-legged on cool stone. The water begins to drip, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the whistles begin to sing their watery song, a gentle melody that fills the room with reminders of time passing. The priests, trained by the music, awaken gradually, their breaths deepening with the rhythm. This is not a bell's harsh call nor a fire's urgent signal, but a whisper, an echo of the river itself, coaxing sleepers from dreams to duty. You are invited to stay through the coming month's lunar cycle, learning the precise calibrations needed to match the flow with the lunar phases. It is painstaking work. Small adjustments to the size of the holes, the angle of the levers, the height of water in each vessel. Each note is tuned not just by physics but by ritual, for the sounds are believed to carry the blessing of Shamash himself. The nights are long but full of quiet satisfaction. Sometimes you close your eyes and imagine the sound stretching beyond the chamber walls, weaving through the city streets, touching the homes of farmers, traders and children still lost in sleep. You think about the weight of time on their shoulders, the cycles of birth and death, the promise of seasons to come. One evening, as the moon rides high and bright above the ziggurat's peak, the astronomer pulls you aside. He shows you a small star chart, older than the others, worn at the edges. It depicts a great serpent wrapped around the sky, swallowing the sun at dawn and birth at dusk. He speaks softly of time's serpent, how it devours itself only to be born anew, and how the alarm song is a way to remember this cycle, to honour the eternal return. You realise that across cities and centuries, the concept of waking, of marking moments, has shifted from necessity to something deeper, an awareness of time's fragile nature and the human desire to touch it, hold it, and perhaps for a moment, guide it. The reeds sing their song, the waters flow steady, and you listen, carried between the earth and stars. As the seasons turn, you find yourself drawn southward toward Babylon, the city rising like a jewel from the marshes, its towering walls and hanging gardens capturing the imagination of travellers and priests alike. Here, amidst the bustle of merchants and scholars, timekeeping takes on a new urgency. Babylon is a city of innovation and ambition, a place where old methods are questioned and transformed, where the sacred mingles with the practical in unexpected ways. You arrive as the sun dips low behind the great ziggurat of Marduk, casting long shadows that stretch across the broad streets. The air smells of fresh-baked bread and date syrup, mingled with the smoke of countless lamps flickering to life in the homes and temples. The city hums with energy, voices calling, wheels turning, the constant rhythm of commerce and worship. The priests here have embraced the water clock, but with a twist. No longer is it simply a vessel measuring time by the steady drip of water. Instead, they have combined it with fire, candles and oil lamps carefully calibrated to burn at precise rates, their flames carefully shielded from drafts and flickers. These are not mere sources of light, they are instruments of time itself. In a quiet chamber within the temple complex, you meet with a craftsman whose hands are stained with soot and resin. He shows you a series of devices: clay lamps with adjustable wicks, glass vessels filled with oil tinted with natural dyes, and intricate metal burners designed to hold and protect the flames. Each lamp is marked with minute notches along its base, allowing the keeper to measure the passing hours by the slow, even consumption of oil. But the true marvel is a combined apparatus, a water clock linked to a flame-driven mechanism that triggers a small bell, fashioned from hammered bronze. As water fills a float chamber, it slowly rises until a lever lifts, causing the bell to ring. Simultaneously, a shield lowers to reveal the flame beneath a glass chimney, increasing its light to signal the passing of a specific hour. The effect is subtle but powerful, a fusion of two ancient elements, water and fire, brought together to mark time with greater precision and ceremony. You spend days studying the mechanism, tracing the flow of water, noting the burn rates of different oils, and learning the rituals that surround the clock's operation. The priests explain that fire represents divine presence, illumination, and the constant watchfulness of the gods, while water symbolises life's flow and change. Together, they embody the balance between permanence and flux, between the measured and the unpredictable. In the evenings, you sit with temple scribes who recount stories of time's many faces, how the Babylonians divide the day into smaller parts, introducing the concept of minutes and seconds long before others. They speak of the sexagesimal system, a legacy inherited from Sumer but refined here, and how this base 60 counting allows for finer measurements, greater accuracy, and a new understanding of the cosmos. Outside the temple, the city is alive with lantern-lit processions and market stalls where traders call out prices and bargains. The sound of bells punctuates the night, signalling shifts, curfews, and prayers. Time is no longer a secret held by priests alone. It is woven into the fabric of daily life, guiding the rhythms of work, worship, and rest. You marvel at how these innovations transform not only the tools of measurement, but the human relationship to time itself. It is no longer just a backdrop for existence, but an active force shaping behaviour, belief, and society. As you prepare to leave Babylon, the craftsman offers you a small token, a finely carved amulet depicting a flame encircled by flowing water. He tells you it is a reminder that time is a dance between opposites, forever burning and flowing, marking the eternal passage from night to day, from sleep to awakening. With the amulet in your hand and the city's vibrant energy behind you, you continue your journey, carrying the legacy of Babylon's innovations with you, ready to witness the next chapter in humanity's quest to master time. Leaving Babylon's vibrant streets behind, you set your course toward the open plains where the sun rules the sky, and time reveals itself not just in dripping water or flickering flames, but in shadows stretching long and bending slow across the earth. Your journey leads you to Uruk, a city famed not only for its towering walls and sprawling marketplaces, but for its scholars and astronomers who have begun to harness the sun's path itself as a living clock. Here, the concept of measuring time takes a profound step forward, transforming from a captive of liquid and flame to an instrument drawn from the very movement of light and shadow. Uruk is a city of paradoxes, ancient yet restless. It holds onto its roots while stretching toward new ideas. You enter the city through the eastern gate, where the smell of baked barley mingles with the distant clang of smiths forging tools. The streets pulse with the footsteps of traders and priests, but it is the observatory atop the highest temple that draws you most, a place where the sky is not merely watched but decoded, mapped, and interpreted. The astronomers here have designed a device both simple and profound, the sundial. It is no mere stick in the ground, but a carefully crafted instrument, carved from polished limestone, with a central gnomon, the upright rod, that casts a shadow onto a smooth, curved surface, inscribed with lines and numbers. These markings correspond to the hours of the day, dividing sunlight into manageable parts, giving a tangible shape to the invisible passage of time. You stand beside the chief astronomer as the sun rises, its early light slicing through the temple courtyard. The shadow of the gnomon begins short and sharp, but lengthens steadily, tracing a slow, deliberate arc across the face of the dial. The astronomer speaks softly, explaining how the sundial aligns precisely with the city's latitude, how the markings change with the seasons, reflecting the Earth's tilt and the sun's shifting journey. Time here is no longer fixed or uniform. It breathes, expands, contracts, flowing with the natural rhythms of the cosmos. You are shown the sundial's variations, smaller dials to measure the divisions between hours, and even miniature versions portable enough for travelling priests and merchants. These mobile sundials are marvels of craftsmanship, carved from ivory and bronze, worn on leather straps or tucked into satchels. They carry the sun's promise into distant lands, allowing those away from city temples to mark the day with the same precision as the scribes and priests of Uruk. During your stay, you accompany the astronomers to the river's edge at dawn, watching as the first light reflects on the water's surface and the shadows retreat. They teach you to read the changing lengths of days, how the longest day of summer spills light like a golden flood, and the shortest day folds swiftly into night's embrace. The sundial is not just a tool, it is a language, a conversation between earth, sky, and human hands. Yet, despite its elegance, the sundial holds limitations. You note how its usefulness fades when clouds cover the sun or night falls, returning the reliance to water clocks and flames. The astronomers acknowledge this with quiet nods. The sundial is a guide for the day, a symbol of order beneath the sun's rule, but other devices must take over when the world slips into darkness. One evening, as twilight paints the sky in hues of purple and rose, the chief astronomer invites you to the temple roof to observe the alignment of stars. He points towards Sirius, rising just before dawn, and explains how its appearance signals the coming floodwaters of the Euphrates, a celestial alarm clock for the agricultural cycles so vital to the city's survival. Here, under the vast expanse of night, you realise the full circle of timekeeping in Mesopotamia, a tapestry woven from water, fire, shadow, and star. You spend weeks in Uruk, learning, observing, and assisting with the calibration of sundials for neighbouring towns. Your fingers grow calloused from carving and measuring, your eyes sharpen from tracking shadows. The sundial's shadow becomes a quiet companion, a slow-moving guide through the passage of days that reminds you of time's fluidity and the delicate balance between nature and human invention. As your departure approaches, the chief astronomer gifts you a small sundial, carved from alabaster, its gnomon tipped with gold leaf. He tells you it is a symbol of enlightenment, a reminder that even as time flows beyond grasp, its passage can be honoured, understood, and embraced. You take the sundial with reverence, knowing it will accompany you on the next stages of your journey, a beacon of the ancient world's endless quest to capture the invisible river of time and shape it into something both measured and sacred. From Uruk you journey westward, guided by the gentle murmur of the Tigris and the ever-changing sky overhead, toward Lagash, a city steeped in the lore of gods and kings, but also known for its artisans, those patient hands that shape not only clay and metal, but the very concept of time itself. In Lagash, the art of clockmaking has evolved beyond the simple flow of water or the trace of shadows, advancing toward a precision that borders on the mechanical, even as it remains deeply entwined with the rhythms of nature and divine will. Lagash welcomes you with the hum of craftsmen's workshops, the scent of heated bronze, and the steady beat of hammers striking chisel to metal. Here, you're introduced to a community of clockmakers and engineers whose work is as much about philosophy as it is about function. They speak softly of balance, of harmony between the physical and the spiritual, and of time as a sacred circle rather than a linear path. The centerpiece of Lagash's timekeeping innovation is a sophisticated clepsydra, far more intricate than any you have encountered before. This water clock is housed within a tall wooden frame, its multiple vessels interconnected by narrow channels and valves that regulate the flow of water with astonishing subtlety. The system includes several floating indicators, carefully balanced to rise and fall with exact timing, triggering small bells and even a series of mechanical figures, wooden birds and animals that move with the passage of hours. You watch as a master clockmaker demonstrates the device. Water fills the upper reservoir, leaking slowly through tiny calibrated holes into lower basins. As the water level changes, weighted floats rise, pulling thin cords connected to levers that activate small bronze chimes. The sound is gentle but unmistakable, a series of tones that mark the quarter hours, the half day, and the full cycle of daylight. The mechanical figures perched like sentinels along the frame begin to move with a quiet, almost hypnotic rhythm, their wings fluttering and heads nodding in time with the bells. The complexity of the mechanism astounds you. The clockmaker explains how they use carefully ground obsidian and polished copper for the channels, ensuring smooth flow and minimal evaporation. Each valve is adjusted by hand, requiring daily maintenance and precise observation. The process is as much an art as a science, demanding patience, skill, and a deep understanding of materials. Beyond the technical marvel, you sense a profound philosophy behind this clock. The figures are not mere decorations, but representations of the natural world. Birds that signal dawn, foxes that herald dusk, and serpents that coil at the turning of the day. The clock embodies a living calendar, reminding all who see it of the cycle of life, the passage of seasons, and the intertwined fates of humans and gods. You spend many days among the clockmakers, learning their language of balance and flow, the subtle differences between oils used to lubricate the wooden parts, and the sacred rituals that accompany the clock's daily winding. Each morning, the keeper of the clock performs a brief ceremony, offering incense and prayers to Nanshi, goddess of justice and prophecy, seeking her blessing for accuracy and harmony. Outside the workshop, the city moves to its own rhythm. Market stalls open and close according to the chiming of public clocks, and temple bells ring in synchronized patterns that echo through the streets. Timekeeping has become a shared language, a structure that binds together the disparate lives of farmers, traders, priests, and artisans. One evening, as the sun sets in a blaze of crimson, the master clockmaker invites you to his home, a modest house near the city's edge. There, over bread and dates, he speaks of dreams and doubts, of the limits of human control over time and the mysteries that remain beyond measure. He tells you of myths where time is both a river and a serpent, sometimes flowing gently, sometimes snapping and twisting beyond mortal grasp. You realise then that the clockmakers of Lagash are not merely technicians, they are philosophers, poets of mechanism, crafting devices that speak to the human desire to tame the intangible, to mark the fleeting, and to find meaning in the endless dance of moments slipping into memory. As your stay draws to a close, the clockmaker presents you with a small token, a finely carved wooden bird, its wings hinged to flutter when suspended by a thread. He tells you it is a reminder that time, like the bird's wings, is delicate and must be handled with care, respect, and humility. You carry this gift with you as you prepare to leave Lagash, feeling the weight of centuries of innovation and the quiet pulse of human ingenuity echoing through the ages, a reminder that time, once measured only by the gods, has become a companion on your journey through the ancient world. The road from Lagash winds through fertile plains and sparse groves, leading you toward the heart of Sumerian spirituality, the great temples where the divine presence is said to dwell, and where time is not just measured but consecrated. In these sacred spaces, the role of the timekeeper transcends mechanics, merging with ritual and responsibility in ways that shape the very rhythm of the city and its people. You arrive at Nippur, a city revered as the seat of Enlil, the god of air and authority, where the passage of time is inseparable from the cycles of worship and the maintenance of cosmic order. Nippur's temple complex rises like a citadel of stone and mud brick, its ziggurat towering above the flat horizon, a bridge between earth and sky. The scent of burning cedar and frankincense fills the air, mixing with the distant chants of priests preparing for evening prayers. The streets are quiet now, their bustle subdued by the gravity of sacred duty, as the city pauses in reverence to forces beyond mortal reckoning. You are introduced to the Naru, the temple's official timekeepers, men and women chosen for their wisdom and devotion, trained from youth in the complex arts of astronomy, calendar making, and ritual timing. They do not merely observe the passing hours, they embody time itself, interpreting celestial signs, adjusting calendars, and ensuring that every festival, sacrifice, and prayer unfolds at its appointed moment. Their work is meticulous, governed by texts inscribed on clay tablets, passed down through generations like fragile heirlooms of knowledge. In the shadow of the great ziggurat, you accompany a Naru through the temple's many chambers, each dedicated to a different aspect of time and divinity. One room houses a series of sundials and water clocks, their surfaces worn smooth by years of careful measurement. Another is filled with tablets bearing complex calculations, interwoven lunar and solar cycles, lists of auspicious days, and astronomical observations. The air hums with quiet intensity, as though the walls themselves pulse with the weight of unseen hours. The Naru explains that in Nippur, time is not uniform but layered, a tapestry of overlapping cycles that govern everything from agricultural work to royal decrees. The lunar calendar dictates the timing of festivals, the solar calendar marks the changing seasons, and the appearances of particular stars signal moments of divine intervention or warning. This layered time demands constant attention and adjustment, lest chaos overtake the ordered world. You witness a solemn ceremony as the high priest consults the Naru before the dawn sacrifice. Together, they verify the alignment of the water clock's flow with the rising sun, the position of the moon, and the predicted movement of Venus. The Naru recites hymns invoking the god's favour, their voice steady and unwavering, carrying the weight of centuries. The sacrifice proceeds only when all elements are in harmony, a testament to the delicate balance between human action and celestial will. Your nights are spent under the temple's open sky, watching as the Naru trace the constellations with slender wooden rods, marking the slow dance of planets and stars against the velvet black. They teach you how to interpret omens in the heavens, a comet's tail as a harbinger of change, the sudden dimming of a star as a warning of danger. Each sign is woven into the city's collective consciousness, guiding decisions from the mundane to the momentous. Timekeeping here is a sacred trust. The Naru speak of their role not as masters of time, but as its humble servants, caretakers of a cycle that connects the mortal and divine. They remind you that each moment measured, each ritual performed, sustains the harmony of the cosmos and the city's survival within it. One evening, as you walk the temple's terraces bathed in moonlight, you reflect on the profound responsibility carried by these keepers of time. Their tools, clocks, charts, and celestial maps, are more than instruments. They are conduits of meaning, bridging human life and the eternal. You sense the quiet solemnity of their task, the fragile thread upon which order hangs in a world perpetually on the brink of chaos. Before you depart Nippur, the Naru present you with a small clay tablet etched with the calendar of the current year, a symbol of the ever-turning wheel of time and the sacred trust bestowed upon those who observe it. You hold the tablet carefully, feeling the weight of countless generations who have counted days and nights, who have watched the heavens and listened for the gods' whispers. As you leave the temple city behind, the rhythms of Nippur linger in your mind, a reminder that time, while measured and marked, is ultimately a living, breathing force, shaped by the hands of those who honour its passage and by the prayers whispered beneath the stars. Leaving the sacred precincts of Nippur behind, you find yourself stepping into the wider world of Mesopotamia, a vast and complex society where time, once the province of priests and astronomers, now pulses through the very fabric of daily life. Here, in bustling cities and quiet villages alike, time governs not only the heavens or the temple rituals, but the rhythms of labour, justice, and human connection. It is a force both practical and profound, shaping laws, work, festivals, and the steady passage of generations. As you wander through a thriving marketplace, the sun hangs high overhead, casting warm light on rows of stalls brimming with woven textiles, pottery, and fragrant spices. Merchants call out their prices, craftsmen hammer and carve, and farmers bring fresh produce from the fields. It is a world of schedules and cycles, where the timing of activities is essential to survival and prosperity. Time here is divided meticulously. The day is segmented into hours governed by the movement of the sun and measured by sundials or water clocks, while weeks and months follow lunar phases. These divisions are more than abstract concepts. They structure work shifts, market days, and legal deadlines. You observe labourers unloading grain at dawn, their tasks carefully arranged to maximise daylight, and scribes recording transactions, their clay tablets inscribed with dates and times to ensure accountability. In the city's administrative offices, you meet officials who explain how time underpins the law, contracts specify deadlines for repayment, harvest delivery, and construction completion, all bound by calendrical certainty. Judges and scribes rely on accurate timekeeping to resolve disputes, their rulings inscribed with precise dates to preserve order and fairness. Time becomes a guarantor of trust, a silent witness to agreements that shape social cohesion. You also learn of the labour schedules imposed on workers, farmers planting and harvesting according to seasonal calendars, craftsmen producing goods within allotted periods, and labourers assigned shifts by the hour. This organisation ensures the city's machinery functions smoothly, aligning human effort with the cycles of nature and commerce. Yet, time's role extends beyond work and law. Festivals and religious observances punctuate the year, marking moments of renewal, remembrance, and divine favour. You witness preparations for the New Year festival, a grand event timed to coincide with the spring equinox and the rising of key stars. Streets are decorated, sacrifices arranged, and prayers composed, all in careful accordance with the sacred calendar. For a time, the city's bustle slows, replaced by communal rituals that reconnect the people with their gods and with each other. In quieter moments, you observe families marking personal milestones, birthdays, marriages, and funerals, each celebrated or mourned in harmony with the broader cycles of time. Time thus weaves individual lives into the larger tapestry of society, binding generations through shared rhythms and collective memory. As evening falls, the city lights up with lamps and fires, shadows lengthening and mingling with the gentle sounds of conversation and music. Time shifts from the demands of labour and law to moments of rest and reflection. You realise that in Mesopotamia, time is neither a harsh master nor a distant abstraction, but a living framework that supports human existence in all its complexity. Walking beneath the stars once more, you feel the pulse of centuries in the measured steps of a society learning to live by the clock, an intricate dance of hours and days that has grown from the earliest efforts of water clocks and sundials into a system that shapes the very heart of civilization. The day begins to soften as you leave the heart of Mesopotamia's cities behind and venture into the quieter spaces where innovation often takes root, in workshops and humble homes where necessity and ritual converge. Here, among the skilled artisans and temple servants, the concept of waking on time, once entrusted to natural signs or human call, takes a transformative step toward mechanical ingenuity. The invention of the alarm clock is not a sudden leap, but a gentle evolution, blending the spiritual with the practical, the sacred with the everyday. You find yourself in a modest dwelling near the edge of the city, where an elderly temple servant named Ishku has spent decades tending the sacred fires and guarding the rhythms of prayer and rest. Ishku explains that before the advent of devices, waking was governed by the calls of roosters, the first light of dawn, or the chants of early temple priests. Yet, for those charged with precise rituals, especially during times of festival or royal decree, these natural signals proved unreliable. Clouds could obscure the sunrise, animals might fail to crow, human voices might falter in the chill of night. Thus, the need arose for a more dependable way to mark the hour. Ishku gestures toward a wooden frame in the corner of his room, housing a small but intricate clepsydra, the water clock, and beside it, a curious device fashioned from clay, wood, and metal. This is one of the earliest known alarm clocks, he says softly, crafted by temple artisans to ensure the faithful rise promptly for dawn ceremonies. Its mechanism is simple yet ingenious, a water clock connected to a floating indicator, which, as water fills a chamber, eventually tips a lever, releasing a small bell or rattling a series of pebbles to produce sound. You watch as Ishku demonstrates the process. The water begins to drip steadily from one vessel to another, the slow, precise flow marking the passage of time. The floating piece rises gradually until, at the appointed moment, it tilts a wooden arm that strikes a small bronze bell. The sound is soft but clear, a call to wakefulness, to alert those who sleep that the hour has come. It is a sound both mechanical and sacred, bridging the human and divine, the temporal and eternal. This device, Ishku explains, is not merely a practical tool, but part of a larger ritual system. The alarm's ringing is often accompanied by the lighting of lamps, the burning of incense, and the chanting of prayers, each element working together to awaken not just the body but the spirit, to prepare the individual for the sacred tasks of the day. In this way, the alarm clock embodies a profound connection between timekeeping and the rhythms of religious life. Beyond the temple walls, you find evidence of similar devices adapted for daily use. Merchants, farmers, and officials employ smaller, more portable water clocks with alarms fashioned from clay or metal to manage their work schedules and journeys. In one bustling market, a trader shows you a handheld clepsydra with a tiny bell that sounds after a set interval, ensuring he rises before dawn to prepare for the caravan's departure. The invention of the alarm clock thus represents a subtle but significant shift. Time moves from being observed and interpreted to being controlled and signalled. It is a move toward reliability and autonomy, a step that allows people to synchronize their lives more precisely with the demands of work, worship, and social order. Yet, the alarm clock's invention is not without its challenges. You learn that maintaining the delicate flow of water requires constant care. Holes must be kept clear, vessels must be refilled, and mechanisms lubricated to prevent jamming. The sound produced, while effective, is gentle and limited in reach, often requiring human reinforcement through shouts or drum beats to rouse larger groups. Despite these limitations, the presence of alarm clocks marks a new era in Mesopotamian life. They become symbols of discipline and devotion, tools that extend human will into the realm of time itself. You see how the earliest alarm clocks are cherished objects, passed down through families and temples, their designs evolving slowly as artisans experiment with new materials and configurations. As night falls, and you prepare to rest beneath the stars, you carry with you the quiet wonder of this invention, a simple mechanism born from water, wood, and metal, yet capable of transforming the way people greet the dawn. It is a reminder that time, once an elusive current to be followed, is gradually becoming a tide to be navigated, a steady rhythm that guides the pulse of ancient civilization. The invention of the alarm clock, simple though it may seem, sends ripples through Mesopotamian society, quietly reshaping the ways people organize their lives, enforce discipline, and maintain social order. As you walk through the awakening streets of a city like Ur or Babylon, the subtle but profound influence of this new technology becomes evident, not just in the mechanics of waking, but in the very fabric of communal life. Before alarm clocks, the rising of the city depended largely on natural signs, the first light of dawn, the crowing of roosters, or the calls of watchmen and temple priests. These signals were reliable but imperfect, subject to the whims of weather, animals, and human fatigue. The alarm clock, by contrast, introduces a measure of consistency and predictability, a dependable cue that cuts through the morning haze and prompts action. You notice how the presence of these devices fosters greater punctuality. Craftsmen arrive at workshops on time, their labour coordinated more effectively. Merchants prepare their stalls before market hours begin. Farmers organise irrigation schedules to align with precise moments of the day. The rhythmic tolling of water clocks and the ringing of alarm bells become a shared language of order, enabling complex tasks to unfold in harmony. This newfound discipline extends beyond work into the realm of governance. City officials and scribes use alarm clocks to regulate meetings, legal proceedings, and public announcements, ensuring that administrative functions proceed without delay. The flow of the city's bureaucratic life gains a steadiness previously unattainable, helping to stabilise governance and reinforce authority. Within households, the alarm clock influences family routines. Parents set these devices to awaken children for schooling or apprenticeships, embedding a sense of responsibility and regularity from a young age. The sound of the alarm becomes a marker of the transition from rest to activity, a gentle but firm reminder of the demands of the day. You also perceive the social symbolism attached to owning and maintaining an alarm clock. These devices are not merely tools but signs of status and respectability. Temples and wealthy households display finely crafted versions, often decorated with intricate carvings or inscriptions invoking divine protection and blessings. Possession of a reliable alarm clock signals a connection to the city's pulse, a mastery over time that parallels social standing and spiritual discipline. At the same time, the alarm clock raises questions about human control and dependence. The reliance on mechanical signals to govern waking challenges traditional notions of natural rhythms and divine will. Some elders and priests express concern that overdependence on devices might erode the natural harmony between humans and the cosmos, a balance carefully maintained through observation and ritual. Yet, the practical benefits prove undeniable, and gradually, the alarm clock finds its place within both sacred and secular spheres. As you observe a dawn chorus of bells ringing across the city, each one a messenger calling workers to rise, priests to prepare, and citizens to begin their day, you appreciate the subtle transformation underway. The alarm clock, in its gentle insistence, weaves itself into the patterns of life, encouraging discipline without harshness, structure without rigidity. This invention, born from necessity and nurtured by ingenuity, marks a turning point in the human relationship with time. It reflects a growing awareness that time is not just observed but managed, shaped by human hands as much as by the stars. Through these devices, the people of ancient Mesopotamia moved toward a society where the flow of hours is a shared experience, a common rhythm that sustains both individual lives and the collective whole. With the city fully alive around you, you sense the quiet triumph of this early alarm clock, not as a mere machine, but as a bridge between nature, technology, and society, signalling a new era where time becomes a tool for order, connection, and possibility. As days pass and the rhythm of Mesopotamian life hums steadily along, you find yourself drawn deeper into the world of artisans, those skilled hands and minds who shape raw materials into objects both useful and beautiful. The earliest alarm clocks, simple in concept but profound in impact, inspire innovation and refinement, their designs evolving as craftsmen experiment with new techniques and materials, seeking to perfect the delicate balance between function and artistry. You enter a workshop tucked away behind bustling streets, where the air is thick with the scent of wet clay, polished wood, and heated bronze. Here, potters, carpenters, and metalworkers collaborate, each contributing expertise to the creation of increasingly sophisticated timekeeping devices. A master artisan named Namtar guides you through the process, his hands steady and practiced as he moulds clay vessels and fits tiny bronze bells onto wooden frames. The earliest alarm clocks, he explains, rely primarily on water clocks, clepsydras, where water's steady flow marks time. These vessels are crafted from fired clay, their surfaces smoothed and sometimes inscribed with decorative motifs or inscriptions invoking protection from the gods of time and order. Inside, a floating indicator rises with the water, triggering a lever that strikes a bell or rattles pebbles to produce sound. The design is elegant in its simplicity but requires careful calibration to ensure accuracy. Namtar shows you newer variations, where artisans incorporate different metals such as bronze and copper to create more durable and sonorous bells. These metals are hammered thin and shaped with precision, their tones tuned to carry across temple courtyards or marketplace squares. The choice of metal affects not only sound but symbolism. Bronze, with its warm glow, is associated with strength and permanence, while copper carries connotations of healing and vitality. Wood also plays a critical role in the evolving alarm clocks. Skilled carpenters carve frames and mechanisms from cedar and sycamore, prized for their resilience and workability. These wooden components allow for more complex movements, including gears and wheels that regulate water flow or release weights at specific intervals. Some devices incorporate counterweights that create a gentle ticking or trigger a striking mechanism, hints of mechanical sophistication centuries before the invention of the clockwork. As you observe these creations, you notice the care taken in decoration. Many alarm clocks bear intricate carvings of lions, bulls, or celestial symbols, signs that these objects are not merely tools but sacred items imbued with cultural and spiritual meaning. Inscriptions in cuneiform invoke Nabu, the god of writing and wisdom, or Shamash, the sun god and arbiter of justice, linking the measurement of time to divine oversight. The refinement of alarm clocks also reflects practical adaptations. Smaller, portable versions appear, designed for travellers and merchants who need to manage time on the road. These compact devices use narrower vessels and lighter materials, balancing accuracy with convenience. Some incorporate tiny whistles or rattles, creating more distinct sounds to overcome the noise of bustling markets or the desert wind. Namtar explains how maintaining these devices requires skill and attention. Water reservoirs must be kept clean and filled, mechanisms greased with animal fats to prevent rust and friction, wooden parts carefully repaired to avoid warping. Ownership of an alarm clock thus implies not only status but responsibility, a partnership between human and machine sustained through daily care. The evolution of alarm clock designs, you realise, mirrors the broader trajectory of Mesopotamian society, an ongoing quest to harness nature, time, and technology in the service of order and meaning. Each innovation carries echoes of those earliest moments when a simple bell struck by a rising float first pierced the stillness of dawn, calling the city to wake. You leave the workshop with a deeper appreciation for the artisan's craft and the delicate interplay of form and function, technology and tradition. The alarm clock is no longer merely a device but a work of art and devotion, a symbol of humanity's emerging mastery over time's elusive currents. The early morning light begins to spill softly over the rooftops of Mesopotamian cities as you wander through streets slowly coming alive with movement and sound. The air is cool and carries the faint fragrance of baking bread and fresh clay from nearby workshops. In this stillness, you sense the pulse of a society that, for the first time in human history, begins to orchestrate the waking of its people through mechanical means, alarm clocks ringing not just in one place, but echoing across temples, palaces, and homes, creating a collective rhythm that unites the city at dawn. You find yourself first at the Grand Temple complex, where priests and temple servants rise early to perform the sacred duties that connect the mortal world to the divine. Here, the use of alarm clocks is both practical and symbolic. In a dimly lit chamber, near an altar adorned with bronze and lapis lazuli, a water clock is carefully monitored by a devoted temple keeper. As water flows slowly into a vessel, the rising float eventually tips a lever, setting off a gentle chime that resonates through the hallways. This signal calls the priest to their ritual ablutions, prayers, and offerings, actions essential to maintaining cosmic order and securing the favour of the gods. The alarm clock's role in the temple is profound. It marks the boundary between night and day, rest and action, the sacred and the mundane. It embodies a divine timing, an echo of the celestial cycles observed by astronomers who chart the stars from ziggurats above. The alarm's ringing becomes a sacred summons, reminding those within the temple walls that the gods' watchful eyes are ever present, and that the work of worship and mediation must begin anew. Moving beyond the temple, you approach the palace, a centre of power where kings and administrators govern the sprawling city-state. Here, the alarm clock serves a different, though no less vital, purpose. In the private chambers of the ruler, an elaborately crafted device stands on a polished wooden table, its clay vessels inscribed with protective prayers and royal insignia. The alarm's chime signals the start of the king's day, a cue to prepare for audiences, council meetings, and public appearances. In the palace, timekeeping becomes a tool of authority and control. The alarm clock helps synchronize the activities of servants, guards, scribes, and officials, ensuring that the machinery of government operates smoothly and punctually. The ruler's reliance on these devices reflects an understanding that time itself can be harnessed to reinforce hierarchy, discipline, and order, binding the diverse elements of the state into a unified whole. As you continue your journey, you enter the quieter, more intimate spaces of ordinary homes. Here, the alarm clock takes on a personal and practical character. While not every household owns such a device, those who do treat it with care and respect. In a modest family dwelling, a small water clock rests on a low shelf, its gentle bell sounding to wake the head of the household before dawn. This allows farmers to prepare for a day in the fields, merchants to ready their wares, and apprentices to begin their training. Within these homes, the alarm clock shapes daily life in subtle ways. It encourages punctuality, instills routines, and connects individuals to the larger social and religious cycles that govern city life. Children learn early the importance of rising on time, weaving discipline into the fabric of family tradition. The alarm clock thus becomes a symbol of responsibility, a tangible reminder that even in the humblest settings, time must be respected and managed. You also notice the social variations in alarm clock ownership and use. Wealthier families display finely made devices adorned with carvings and inscriptions, reflecting their status and connection to temple and court. Simpler models crafted from clay and wood serve working-class households, proving that this technology, while still precious, gradually spreads beyond elite circles. Throughout the city, the morning chorus of alarms, some loud, some soft, interweaves with natural sounds, the crowing of roosters, the murmur of the river, the rustle of palm fronds in the breeze. Together they create a layered soundscape that marks the transition from night to day, rest to activity, silence to the pulse of human endeavour. In this orchestration of time, you glimpse a society moving toward greater complexity and coordination. The invention and spread of alarm clocks do more than wake individuals. They awaken a city, shaping its collective rhythm and fostering a shared sense of purpose. The morning bells are the heartbeat of civilization, signalling a new era where time is both a measured resource and a sacred trust. You leave the city streets behind as sunlight climbs higher, carrying with you the understanding that the alarm clock, born from humble beginnings and crafted with care, has become a vital instrument in the symphony of ancient Mesopotamian life, weaving together temple, palace, and home into a harmonious whole. As the sun reaches its zenith and casts soft shadows across the clay walls of Mesopotamian cities, you settle near a quiet courtyard, shaded by date palms and humming with the distant murmur of life. Here, away from the bustling markets and official chambers, you reflect on the deeper meanings woven into the very concept of time itself, and how the invention of alarm clocks carries cultural and religious significance far beyond their practical function. In ancient Mesopotamia, time is not simply a measure of hours and minutes. It is a sacred thread that binds the cosmos, gods, and humanity together. The movements of the sun, moon, and stars dictate the seasons, rituals, and destinies. To track and control time is to align oneself with the divine order, known as Me, the cosmic laws set by the gods that govern all aspects of existence. Thus, the alarm clock, an instrument marking precise moments to awaken, becomes a physical embodiment of this alignment, a small but powerful symbol of humanity's participation in the eternal cycles. Priests and astronomer scribes, who chart the heavens from lofty ziggurats, See in the alarm clocks ringing the echo of celestial rhythms. When the device sounds at dawn, it calls not only for waking bodies, but for the commencement of sacred duties, offerings, prayers, and ceremonies that maintain the balance between earth and sky, chaos and order. Each alarm is a reminder that time is a gift from the gods, a rhythm to be honoured and preserved. You hear the story of Enlil, the god of wind and storms, whose breath is said to carry the winds that sweep across the land, and who governs the passing of days and seasons. Alarm clocks, by marking moments of transition from night to day, resonate with Enlil's power, signalling the renewal of life and the continual movement of the universe. Inscriptions on some alarm clocks invoke his name, seeking his favour to keep time flowing smoothly and to guard against disorder. Beyond the temples, timekeeping devices also play a role in community identity. Festival calendars, marked by lunar cycles and agricultural milestones, depend on precise timing to ensure that celebrations honour the gods at the proper moments. The alarm clock helps synchronise these events, uniting large groups in shared rituals that reinforce social bonds and collective memory. You listen as an elderly woman recounts how families use alarm clocks to mark personal rites of passage, birthdays, weddings, funerals, embedding these intimate moments within the larger tapestry of cosmic time. The sound of the alarm thus becomes a marker of transformation, a call to awaken to new stages of life and to honour ancestors whose spirits are said to dwell in the stars. There is also a philosophical dimension to these devices. Time is both a gift and a burden, a force that carries life forward toward inevitable ends. The alarm clock's ringing is a gentle but persistent reminder of mortality and the fleeting nature of existence. It urges mindfulness and discipline, encouraging individuals to use their allotted time wisely and to live in harmony with divine laws. This complex relationship between time, religion, and culture is reflected in the craftsmanship of the alarm clocks themselves. Elaborate carvings depict mythological scenes, gods bestowing time to humans, celestial animals traversing the heavens, linking the mechanical to the mystical. The devices become not merely tools, but sacred objects, handled with reverence and care. As dusk approaches, the sky painted in hues of rose and gold, you contemplate how the alarm clock's gentle call to wakefulness is intertwined with ancient beliefs and cosmic rhythms. It is an instrument of order and devotion, a bridge between the tangible and the divine, reminding the people of Mesopotamia that their lives unfold within a sacred time ordained by the gods. In this harmony of technology and spirituality, you sense a civilization deeply aware of its place in the universe, one that uses the quiet sound of an alarm to awaken not only bodies, but hearts and minds, guiding them through the cycles of life with purpose and reverence. As twilight deepens and the stars begin to punctuate the darkening sky, you find yourself pondering the far-reaching influence of Mesopotamian innovations, not only within their own cities, but across distant lands and cultures. The invention of the alarm clock, nestled within the broader development of timekeeping, serves as a crucial thread in the tapestry of ancient human progress, its principles and designs journeying beyond the Fertile Crescent into the wider world. You imagine traders and travellers setting out from Mesopotamian ports, their caravans laden with goods but also ideas and technologies. Along dusty roads that wind through deserts and mountains, knowledge of water clocks and mechanical alarms spreads, carried in the hands of skilled artisans and curious scribes. These devices, initially crafted for temple rituals and royal schedules, begin to take root in new contexts, adapted, transformed, and integrated into different societies. In ancient Egypt, for example, you envision priests using similar water clocks to measure the hours of night and day, ensuring the timing of offerings to Ra, the sun god. Though Egyptian clepsydras differ in design, the fundamental concept, the controlled flow of water to measure time, reflects Mesopotamian origins. The rhythmic sound of bells or clappers, akin to early alarms, signals changes in temple rites, echoing the sacred connection between time and divine order. Moving eastward, you see echoes of Mesopotamian timekeeping in the Indus Valley civilization, where precise measurements and urban planning indicate a sophisticated understanding of time and labour organisation. While direct evidence of alarm clocks is scarce, the cultural exchange through trade routes suggests an awareness of these inventions, laying groundwork for future developments. Further still, into the rugged landscapes of Anatolia and the Hittite Empire, you picture the melding of Mesopotamian techniques with local craftsmanship. water clocks and simple alarm mechanisms become part of royal and religious practices, underscoring time's role as a unifying and regulating force across diverse peoples. The exchange is not one way. Mesopotamia, too, absorbs ideas and influences from its neighbours, creating a dynamic cultural dialogue. The development of mechanical timekeeping gradually incorporates innovations in metallurgy, hydraulics, and symbolism gleaned from surrounding regions. This cross-pollination accelerates the refinement of alarm clocks and other devices, embedding them more deeply into social, religious, and administrative life. Trade hubs like Marian Ebla become centres where knowledge circulates, scribes copying cuneiform tablets that describe the workings of clepsydras and instructions for setting alarms. Artisans collaborate, experimenting with new materials such as glass and alabaster, expanding the possibilities of water flow regulation and sound production. As you trace this web of cultural transmission, you realise that the alarm clock is more than a Mesopotamian curiosity. It is a milestone in a shared human endeavour to measure and master time. Its journey across civilizations illustrates how practical needs, spiritual beliefs, and technological curiosity intertwine, driving progress in unexpected ways. This diffusion of timekeeping knowledge lays the groundwork for later civilizations, such as the Greeks and Romans, who build upon these early devices to develop more complex clocks and calendars. The fundamental idea that time can be segmented, controlled, and signalled becomes a universal concept, crucial for agriculture, governance, and daily life. You imagine the soft ringing of early alarms in distant lands, waking priests, farmers, and rulers alike, each sound a quiet testament to the enduring human desire to synchronize with the flow of the cosmos. In this shared experience, time becomes a bridge between cultures, a silent language spoken across borders and centuries. As the stars wheel overhead and the night deepens, you hold this vision close, the invention of the alarm clock, born in the cradle of civilization, spreading its gentle call to awaken across the ancient world, shaping the rhythms of countless lives. As the cool night air settles around you, and the faint flicker of oil lamps illuminates your surroundings, you contemplate the fragile nature of early timekeeping devices, their delicate mechanisms and the persistent challenges that accompanied their use. Though the invention of the alarm clock marks a remarkable achievement, its practical implementation is far from simple, shaped by the realities of materials, environment, and human care. The earliest alarm clocks, relying primarily on the flow of water, are exquisitely sensitive instruments. A slight change in temperature can alter water's viscosity, affecting the speed at which it flows and consequently the accuracy of the clock. You imagine the frustration of a temple priest or palace official who, rising before dawn, discovers that the alarm failed to sound at the appointed hour because a small leak slowed the vessel's emptying. Maintaining these devices requires constant vigilance and skill. Water reservoirs must be regularly cleaned to prevent sediment buildup which could clog pipes or skew measurements. The vessels themselves, often crafted from fragile clay, are vulnerable to cracks from drying or impact. Repairs demand expert knowledge of materials and patience to avoid damage. You picture artisans carefully patching cracks with bitumen, a natural resin used widely in Mesopotamia, or replacing worn wooden components, each task performed with reverence for the device's importance. The environment poses further challenges. In the arid Mesopotamian climate, evaporation can reduce water levels, disrupting the flow and leading to inaccurate readings. To counter this, users sometimes cover reservoirs or employ secondary containers to catch evaporation. Seasonal temperature shifts also require recalibration, a practice recorded in cuneiform tablets that instruct scribes and priests on adjusting water levels and weights for more reliable timekeeping. Despite these obstacles, the alarm clocks evolve through incremental improvements. Craftsmen experiment with thicker vessel walls to reduce breakage, sealants to minimize leaks, and adjustable weights to fine-tune timing mechanisms. Some devices incorporate multiple chambers, allowing for staggered or repeated alarms, increasing their utility in daily routines. The mechanical parts, wooden levers, bronze bells, and weighted pulleys, are themselves prone to wear and require lubrication with animal fats or oils to reduce friction. Over time, more intricate gearing systems emerge, demonstrating early understanding of mechanics and precision engineering. These adaptations not only improve reliability, but also make alarm clocks more versatile, capable of signalling at different intervals and volumes. In addition to technical challenges, social factors influence the use and maintenance of alarm clocks. Their care is often entrusted to specialised personnel, temple attendants, palace stewards, or household slaves trained in their operation. This creates a relationship between human expertise and machine function, highlighting the alarm clock as an object embedded within social hierarchies and knowledge networks. You also consider how users adapt to the device's limitations. Recognising that alarm clocks are not infallible, people employ supplementary waking methods: roosters crowing, watchmen calling the hour, or family members gently rousing sleepers. The alarm clock becomes one element in a complex system of timekeeping and social coordination, valued for its precision but integrated with traditional practices. These challenges and adaptations reveal the deep commitment of ancient Mesopotamians to mastering time. The alarm clock, fragile yet transformative, represents an ongoing dialogue between human ingenuity and the unpredictability of nature. Each success and setback contributes to a growing understanding of technology's potential and limits. As the night deepens, you sense the quiet perseverance behind this ancient invention, a testament to the patience and creativity of those who sought to tame time's flow, not through force, but through careful observation, craft, and respect. The gentle glow of morning begins to seep through your window as you imagine yourself walking through a lively Mesopotamian neighbourhood, where the lives of ordinary people unfold quietly, alongside the grand movements of kings and priests. It is here, among the rhythms of daily toil and simple joys, that the alarm clock reveals its intimate presence, shaping moments both mundane and profound. Though its invention is often told through the lens of kings and temples, the device quietly touches the lives of many: farmers, merchants, artisans, and families, each with their own story of waking to the sound of the bell or the rush of water. You step into the modest home of Asher, a young farmer whose fields stretch beyond the city's walls. Each morning before dawn, the soft ringing of his family's water clock stirs him from sleep, a signal that the time to tend the soil and guide the irrigation channels has come. The task is delicate, requiring him to open and close gates that regulate water flow, balancing scarcity and abundance. The alarm clock's call is a faithful companion, a reminder that nature's rhythms must be met with human vigilance. Without it, Asher fears he might oversleep and jeopardize the health of his crops, the lifeblood of his family's survival. Nearby, in the bustling marketplace, you find Zara, a merchant's apprentice learning the art of trade. Her mornings begin not only with the city's alarm bells, but with the shuffle of merchants setting up stalls and the clink of coins exchanging hands. The alarm clock helps Zara manage her time tightly, opening shops, delivering goods, and preparing accounts before the midday sun. She often wonders at the intricate device that wakes her, and feels a quiet pride in being part of a city that values order and punctuality. For her, the alarm clock symbolises opportunity, a chance to prove herself in a competitive world. In another corner of the city, an elderly scribe named Aninu prepares for a day of recording temple offerings and legal contracts. His water clock, worn but cherished, marks his hours with a steady, calming rhythm. Ninu sees time not as an enemy, but as a scroll unfurling, each moment a word written in the great narrative of human and divine history. When the alarm sounds, it is a gentle call to responsibility, to honour the sacred duty of preserving knowledge. He often reflects on how this invention, simple yet profound, bridges the mortal and the eternal. Amid these personal narratives, you hear whispers of families using the alarm clock to coordinate their lives, children waking for lessons in cuneiform, cooks starting fires to prepare morning meals, weavers and potters beginning their craft before the heat of day. The alarm clock becomes a thread weaving individuals into a communal fabric, aligning diverse lives to the city's shared pulse. You also sense moments of tenderness and vulnerability. A mother gently wakes her sick child as the alarm rings, hoping to bring comfort through routine. A watchman, weary from night shifts, relies on the device's sound to signal relief and rest. In these intimate scenes, the alarm clock transcends its mechanical nature, becoming a companion in human care and connection. Yet, not all stories speak of ease. Some describe frustrations, alarms that fail or sound too softly, causing missed appointments or reprimands from overseers. The device's presence is a constant reminder of discipline and the demands of an increasingly structured society where time governs not only labour, but social status and personal worth. Through these personal stories, you come to understand the alarm clock as more than a tool of measurement. It is a participant in the unfolding drama of life, an unseen character shaping moments large and small. It marks the passage from darkness to light, rest to action, chaos to order, echoing the hopes, fears, and daily realities of those who hear its call. As the city awakens fully around you, with voices rising and footsteps stirring dust, you carry with you these glimpses into the lives intertwined with the earliest alarm clocks, a testament to how technology, even in its infancy, touches the human heart and shapes the flow of everyday existence. As daylight spills warmly over the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, you find yourself walking alongside vast fields where barley and wheat sway gently in the breeze, their golden heads heavy with promise. The rhythm of agricultural life here is deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature, the rising and setting of the sun, the phases of the moon, and the unpredictable flow of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Timekeeping, and with it the humble alarm clock, emerges not merely as a practical aid, but as a vital instrument in aligning human activity with these eternal patterns. Farmers depend on precise timing to plant and harvest crops, tasks that cannot be left to chance. You envision Asher, the farmer you met earlier, rising to the faint but reliable sound of his water clock alarm just before dawn, alert to the delicate moment when soil temperature and moisture are ideal for sowing seeds. The alarm clock ensures he begins his work in harmony with the cycles that govern growth, maximising the yield that sustains his family and community. Beyond the fields, you see how the calendar of festivals and rituals is equally structured by timekeeping. Mesopotamian society is punctuated by celebrations honouring gods who govern fertility, rain, and the earth itself. These festivals, such as the Akitu, the New Year festival, are meticulously timed to celestial events and agricultural milestones, often involving elaborate ceremonies that require precise scheduling. The alarm clocks, by marking early mornings and signalling transitions, help priests and participants prepare and gather in the right moment, preserving the sacred order of tradition. Within temple precincts, you observe priests using water clocks to segment the day into hours dedicated to specific rites. Offerings to Inanna for fertility, prayers to Enki for water and wisdom, invocations to Shamash for justice. Each ringing bell or chime becomes a cue in a larger choreography, ensuring the flow of worship reflects cosmic balance and renews divine favour for the land's fertility. Farmers and city dwellers alike look to these festivals as more than religious observance. They are communal affirmations of survival and prosperity. Timekeeping devices allow them to anticipate and prepare, transforming natural cycles into social rhythms that knit the community tightly together. The role of alarm clocks here is subtle but profound. They bridge the gap between human intention and natural law, turning the abstract concept of time into a practical lived experience. Without such devices, coordinating planting schedules, irrigation and ceremonial activities would be far more uncertain, risking crop failure or divine displeasure. In quieter moments, you reflect on how the alarm clock, born of necessity, becomes a symbol of trust, a promise that the day's work will begin at the right hour, that rituals will unfold as they should, and that the world remains ordered despite its vast complexities. This trust is foundational, nurturing confidence in the stability of life itself. As the sun climbs higher, casting long shadows over fields and temples, you feel a gentle reverence for the ways early Mesopotamians wove technology, nature, and belief into a seamless tapestry. The alarm clock is more than a tool. It is a key to understanding a civilization that thousands of years ago sought to harmonize human existence with the eternal pulse of the earth and sky. The sun dips low, casting a soft amber glow over the ancient cityscape, and you find yourself wandering through a workshop tucked within a narrow alley of artisans. Here, the quiet hum of creation fills the air, the steady tapping of tools shaping clay, the gentle ringing of bronze, and the thoughtful murmurs of craftsmen experimenting with new forms. It is in this intimate space of innovation that the alarm clock begins its transformation, evolving from fragile water vessels into more complex and resonant devices crafted from metals and wood. In the earliest days, as you have seen, alarm clocks were simple water clocks, clepsydras, made from clay or stone, relying on the steady drip or flow of water to measure time. Their alarms came in the form of a small mechanism that released a floating piece, triggering a bell or clapper to sound. While ingenious, these devices were vulnerable to breakage, evaporation, and imprecision, their gentle ringing sometimes faint or inconsistent. Craftsmen and inventors sought ways to enhance durability, sound clarity, and reliability. Over time, artisans began incorporating bronze, a metal valued for its resilience and sonorous qualities, into their designs. You watch as a skilled smith pours molten bronze into moulds shaped like small bells, carefully tuning each to produce a clear, penetrating tone. These bronze bells replace earlier wooden or reed clappers, allowing the alarm to carry further across courtyards and streets, waking not only individuals but entire households or neighbourhoods. Simultaneously, wooden frames and gearing mechanisms begin to complement water flow systems. Ingenious wooden wheels, axles, and weights combine to regulate the movement of water and trigger alarms more precisely. You imagine the painstaking trial and error involved, timing the release of a lever, balancing a weight, or carving teeth on a cog to mesh perfectly. Early examples of mechanical engineering that hint at more complex timekeeping devices to come. The evolution also reflects advances in aesthetic and symbolic design. Many alarm clocks are adorned with intricate carvings depicting mythological scenes, celestial symbols, or protective deities. These decorations serve both as artistic expression and as spiritual safeguards, believed to imbue the devices with divine favour and ward off misfortune. With the integration of metals and improved mechanics, alarm clocks grow in size and complexity, becoming prized possessions for temples, royal palaces, and wealthy households. They are no longer mere tools, but symbols of status and technological mastery, embodying a civilization's control over time itself. You feel the quiet pride of the craftsmen who bring together earth, water, fire, and metal, forging devices that resonate with both practical purpose and cultural meaning. Their work represents a bridge from ancient simplicity to emerging complexity, setting the stage for the intricate clocks and watches that will follow in millennia to come. As the evening deepens and the soft clang of a newly forged bell rings through the workshop, you sense the continuity of human curiosity and ingenuity, a lineage stretching back to those first water clocks, now transformed and amplified, yet still calling out the same fundamental message: time moves forward, and with it, life unfolds. The early morning light filters gently through narrow windows as you walk through the bustling streets of a Mesopotamian city, where the rhythm of daily life begins to quicken. Markets stir to life, artisans prepare their tools, and labourers ready themselves for the day's tasks. At the heart of this awakening lies a subtle but powerful force guiding the city's pulse, the alarm clock marking the hours and orchestrating the flow of work with quiet precision. In a society where survival depends heavily on coordinated labour, the alarm clock is more than a mere convenience. It is a linchpin of social and economic order. You imagine a craftsman named Nabu, rising at the first ringing of his water clock, knowing that the timely start of his work is essential not only for his livelihood, but also for meeting the demands of merchants and officials. The alarm signals the end of rest and the beginning of purposeful activity, setting a disciplined tone for the hours to come. Workdays in Mesopotamia are often structured around natural cycles, daylight hours, seasonal shifts, and the ebb and flow of irrigation schedules. Yet within this natural framework, the alarm clock introduces a human-crafted precision, dividing the day into segments marked by the ringing of bells or the sound of flowing water. This segmentation allows supervisors and overseers to coordinate groups of workers, ensuring that tasks such as brickmaking, grain grinding, or construction proceed smoothly and on time. You picture a large construction site where dozens of labourers, architects and supervisors collaborate to build a ziggurat. The alarm clock's chime signals the start of shifts, breaks, and changes in labour, creating an invisible but palpable structure that guides human effort. Without it, the coordination of such complex projects, demanding both physical strength and meticulous planning, would be far more chaotic and inefficient. In domestic settings, the alarm clock similarly regulates the activities of household members. Servants awake to prepare meals and tend fires, women begin weaving or pottery work, and children ready themselves for lessons in writing or arithmetic. The clock's sound weaves through the fabric of daily routines, blending individual responsibilities into a collective cadence. This organisation of time reflects broader social hierarchies. Access to reliable alarm clocks is often limited to temples, palaces, and wealthy households, underscoring distinctions in status and power. Those who control timekeeping also exercise authority, directing labour and ritual with the aid of these devices. For common workers, the sound of an alarm can mean both opportunity and constraint, a call to productivity and obedience. Despite this, the alarm clock fosters a shared temporal experience, uniting diverse groups in a common schedule. It shapes not only how work is done, but also how people perceive time itself, as a resource to be managed, segmented, and respected. Walking through this vibrant city, you sense the alarm clock's quiet but profound impact. It is a mediator between natural cycles and human ambition, a tool that transforms the passing of hours into purposeful action. Through its steady, measured calls, the alarm clock helps weave the complex tapestry of ancient urban life, where order and progress depend on the delicate balance of time and toil. As twilight softens the edges of the ancient city, you find yourself drawn toward a quiet temple courtyard, where flickering lamps cast dancing shadows on walls, inscribed with cuneiform prayers and hymns. Here, in this sacred space, the alarm clock takes on a meaning that transcends its practical purpose, a symbol woven deeply into the spiritual fabric of Mesopotamian life. Time in Mesopotamian belief is not merely a measurable continuum, but a sacred order established by the gods themselves. The cyclical rise and fall of day and night, the steady march of the seasons, and the rhythms of life and death all reflect divine will. Against this cosmic backdrop, the alarm clock is more than a tool. It becomes a conduit connecting human existence to the rhythms of the universe. Priests and temple attendants regard the alarm clock's ringing as a call not only to wake, but to awaken the soul, to align the self with the divine order. The sound resonates like a prayer, punctuating moments of transition between rest and action, darkness and light, chaos and order. It signals a time for offerings, prayers, and rituals designed to maintain harmony between gods and mortals. You imagine a young priestess named Ninlil, rising at the sound of her temple's water clock alarm, preparing to greet the dawn with hymns to the moon god Sin. For her, the alarm is sacred, a reminder that each day is a gift from the divine, a chance to participate in the eternal cycle of creation and renewal. The device itself might be decorated with symbols of protection, lions, stars, or the tree of life, infusing it with spiritual power. In Mesopotamian mythology, time is often personified through deities who govern fate and destiny. The alarm clock's measured sound becomes an earthly echo of their will, calling mortals to their appointed roles and responsibilities. Its presence within temples and palaces underscores the belief that human order mirrors cosmic order, and that controlling time is a sacred act. Beyond temples, the alarm clock also plays a role in personal spirituality. Individuals might use it to structure prayers at dawn or dusk, moments considered especially potent for communication with the gods. The ringing serves as a gentle reminder to reflect, give thanks, or seek guidance, embedding the rhythms of faith into the daily routine. The alarm clock's spiritual significance also extends to protective functions. Some believe that the sound of its bell wards off evil spirits or misfortune, creating a boundary of sacred sound that guards homes and temples. The timing of its call is thought to synchronize human activity with auspicious moments, ensuring safety and favour. This intertwining of technology and spirituality reveals the profound way Mesopotamians understood their world. The alarm clock is not merely a mechanical device, but a symbol of balance, between human effort and divine will, between time's relentless flow and the enduring search for meaning. As night deepens and the temple's lamps flicker low, you sense the alarm clock's gentle voice reverberating through the ages, a soft yet unyielding reminder that time, in all its measured grace, is sacred, shared, and eternally connected to the heart of existence. As the warm glow of dawn begins to soften the horizon, you find yourself stepping quietly into the grand palace of an ancient Mesopotamian king. The air is cool and still, but the palace is already alive with subtle movements. Attendants preparing the royal chambers, servants arranging cushions and carpets, and guards standing vigilant at towering gates. Within this world of power and ceremony, the alarm clock holds a place of unique importance, orchestrating the rhythms of a life steeped in protocol, luxury, and immense responsibility. In the royal court, time is a currency as precious as gold or grain, and its careful management shapes the day's unfolding. The king's schedule is filled with audiences, religious ceremonies, military briefings, and administrative duties, all demanding punctuality and precision. Without a reliable alarm, the delicate balance of court life could easily unravel. You envision the water clock stationed in the king's private chambers, or the temple nearby, its measured flow of water or ringing bells serving as a faithful herald, waking the monarch and signalling key moments throughout the day. The alarm clock ensures the king rises early enough to perform his sacred duties, offering prayers to the gods, reviewing reports from distant provinces, and participating in council meetings with advisors and generals. Its sound slices through the quiet of the morning, a gentle yet unmistakable call that even the deepest sleeper must heed. This ritual awakening underscores the monarch's divine mandate to maintain order, justice, and prosperity for his people. Beyond waking the king, the alarm clock shapes the routines of the entire court. Courtiers and officials synchronize their activities to the clock's measured signals, knowing that delays could mean lost favour or missed opportunities. Musicians prepare for scheduled performances, scribes ready documents for the day's decrees, and servants organise meals and garments according to a tightly woven timetable. The clock's influence extends through the palace like an invisible thread, weaving individuals into a collective rhythm of duty and ceremony. You imagine the palace artisans who craft these timekeeping devices for the royal household, their work prized not only for technical excellence, but also for aesthetic refinement. Many alarm clocks in palaces are elaborate, adorned with intricate carvings, precious metals, and symbolic motifs. Lions representing strength, the sun god Shamash symbolizing justice, or the stylized crescent of the moon god Sin. These decorations imbue the devices with regal dignity, making them both functional instruments and objects of art. In moments of leisure, the alarm clock continues to guide the day. It signals the end of formal audiences and the beginning of banquets or garden strolls, allowing the king and his guests to transition seamlessly between roles. The reliability of these signals brings a comforting structure to a life filled with ceremony and obligation, helping even the most powerful feel anchored in time's flow. Yet the alarm clock also reflects the hierarchical nature of court life. While the king and high officials enjoy access to the finest devices and precise timekeeping, commoners and servants often rely on more rudimentary means: roosters crowing, calls from watchmen, or the less precise clay clepsydras. This division underscores the relationship between technology, status, and power, highlighting how control over time is itself a form of authority. You sense, too, the subtle tensions that come with this control. The alarm clock's insistent calls can be both a blessing and a burden, a reminder of responsibilities that never cease, and a symbol of the ever-present demands placed on those who serve the throne. For some, the ringing heralds opportunity and prestige. For others, discipline and constraint. Walking through the ornate halls with their carved pillars and mosaics reflecting the morning light, you understand how the alarm clock is woven into the fabric of royal existence. Not just a mechanical device, but a partner in governance, ritual, and daily life. Its steady pulse mirrors the heartbeat of the kingdom, marking time not just as a measurement, but as an expression of order, power, and continuity. As the first light of dawn brushes against the rooftops of the sprawling Mesopotamian city, you find yourself amid the awakening hum of the marketplace. The air is tinged with the scent of fresh bread, ripe dates, and the earthy aroma of spices from distant lands. Traders and merchants move purposefully between stalls, preparing for the day's transactions, their eyes bright with anticipation and calculation. In this bustling economic heart, the alarm clock plays a subtle yet vital role, orchestrating the flow of commerce and transforming chaos into coordinated activity. The marketplace, a labyrinth of narrow lanes and vibrant stalls, depends heavily on timing. Merchants rely on precise moments to open their shops, to receive shipments carried along the rivers and caravan routes, and to negotiate deals before the sun climbs too high and heat slows the city's pace. Without a dependable way to mark these hours, commerce would risk disorder, missed opportunities, and lost wealth. The alarm clock, whether a water clock stationed in a trader's home or a bell rung by a market overseer, ensures the city's economic engine runs smoothly. you envision a merchant named Eliam, who wakes at the sound of his household's clepsydra, alert to the moment his wares must be ready for inspection by visiting dignitaries. His day is governed by the steady rhythm of his alarm clock, which signals the opening of the market and alerts his assistants to begin the delicate process of weighing and measuring goods, silver, textiles, and rare incense. The ringing bell marks transitions between tasks, structuring negotiations and signalling the end of trading sessions. Within the marketplace, timekeeping devices are also crucial for coordinating the arrival and departure of riverboats laden with goods. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers serve as vital trade arteries, their schedules influenced by tides, weather, and the demands of distant cities. Traders watch for the alarm signals marking the right moments to load and unload, preventing costly delays and ensuring the freshness of perishable items. Here, the alarm clock becomes a bridge linking natural cycles and human enterprise. The presence of alarm clocks also reflects the growing complexity of Mesopotamian trade networks. As commerce expands beyond local boundaries to reach far-flung regions, the need for reliable timekeeping intensifies. Merchants use these devices not only to manage daily routines, but also to maintain records and contracts, which depend on precise timing for their validity. The sound of the alarm, then, resonates as a guarantee of order and trust within an increasingly interconnected world. You also notice how market officials employ bells and alarms to maintain order, signalling the opening and closing of the market, calling for assemblies, or warning of disruptions. These signals punctuate the marketplace's energy, guiding crowds and preventing chaos. In this way, the alarm clock functions as a civic tool, shaping the public life of the city. Beyond commerce, the alarm clock influences social interactions within the market. Merchants and buyers use its signals to arrange meetings, set deadlines for payments, and synchronize festivities tied to trade guilds and religious observances. The device weaves time into the fabric of economic and social exchange, making the marketplace a place where human ambitions and relationships unfold in measured harmony. As the sun climbs higher and the market's bustle intensifies, you sense the quiet authority of the alarm clock amidst the lively chaos, a persistent, dependable heartbeat guiding the flow of goods, money, and human endeavour. It transforms time from an abstract concept into a practical force, essential for the prosperity and order of one of the ancient world's greatest economic centres. As the soft light of morning filters into a quiet courtyard, where clay tablets rest neatly on wooden shelves, you find yourself among the scribes and students of an ancient Mesopotamian school, known as an Adubba. Here, the alarm clock quietly governs the rhythm of learning, shaping not just the hours spent in study, but the very culture of knowledge that flourishes in this cradle of civilization. In these austere yet purposeful spaces, young students awaken early, often before the sun rises, to begin their lessons in cuneiform writing, mathematics, and literature. The alarm clock, typically a water clock or a bell rung by the teacher or a senior scribe, signals the start and end of sessions, helping to instill discipline and order in an environment where focus and repetition are vital for mastering complex skills. You observe a young apprentice named Enlil, who rises promptly at the faint but deliberate sound of his family's water clock alarm. The call pulls him from sleep, urging him to prepare his stylus and tablet, to polish the reed pens, and to journey to the school where his future awaits. The alarm's ringing is not merely practical, it is a prompt to embrace learning, to honour the gods of wisdom like Nisaba, and to take up the sacred duty of preserving knowledge. Within the Adubba, time is segmented into distinct periods dedicated to different subjects. The alarm clock's measured calls mark transitions, from practicing the wedge-shaped cuneiform signs to solving arithmetic problems, or from copying hymns to reciting epics such as the Epic of Gilgamesh. These signals create a cadence that supports concentration and repetition, essential in a system where oral and written transmission intertwine. Teachers use alarm clocks to maintain fairness and structure among students, ensuring that each receives their turn to read aloud or dictate, while also signalling breaks to rest weary hands and minds. The regulated flow of lessons echoes the ordered cosmos, a concept deeply embedded in Mesopotamian thought, where balance and harmony are paramount. Scholarship in Mesopotamia is closely linked to religious and administrative functions. Scribes trained in these schools often go on to serve in temples, palaces, and bureaucracies, where their ability to keep accurate records, conduct calculations, and compose letters is indispensable. The The alarm clock, by structuring the learning process, indirectly shapes the very foundation of governance and culture. Beyond the classroom, the concept of measured time fosters a respect for precision and accountability. Students learn not only to write, but to think within frameworks of order, an ethos reflected in the broader Mesopotamian worldview, where the cycles of the heavens govern the affairs of men. The alarm clock is thus a silent teacher, instilling habits of punctuality, diligence, and reverence for the rhythms of life. You sense the quiet dignity in this setting, where each ringing bell or dripping drop signals a commitment to knowledge and the continuation of tradition. The alarm clock, humble in its mechanism but profound in its impact, helps shape minds that will carry forward the legacy of writing, law, and civilization itself. As the day stretches on and the students bend over their tablets, the steady calls of the alarm clock weave through the room, a gentle reminder that time is both a teacher and a treasure, guiding hands and hearts toward wisdom. The first light of dawn softly illuminates the broad plaza before the grand ziggurat, where priests and worshippers gather in anticipation of a sacred festival. The air is filled with the mingled scents of incense, freshly baked bread, and blooming date palms. This day, like many in ancient Mesopotamia, is marked not only by ritual and celebration, but also by an exacting observance of time, a precision guided by the ever-present alarm clock. Religious festivals in Mesopotamia are deeply entwined with the cycles of the moon, the sun, and the agricultural seasons, each moment charged with spiritual significance. The alarm clock becomes an essential instrument in ensuring that the rites unfold at the precise hours commanded by the divine calendar. Whether a water clock's gentle drip or the resonant toll of a bronze bell, its sound signals transitions between stages of ceremony, helping priests and participants move with synchronized reverence. You imagine a priest named Asher, entrusted with overseeing the timing of offerings during the festival of the new year, Akitu. As the alarm clock sounds its call at dawn, Asher begins the complex sequence of prayers, sacrifices and hymns designed to renew cosmic order and affirm the king's divine mandate. The device's reliable signal anchors the ritual, maintaining a sacred order that must not be disturbed. Throughout the festival, alarm clocks are placed strategically, within temples, courtyards and public spaces, marking key moments such as the lighting of sacred fires, the arrival of processions or the start of communal feasts. Their sounds carry across the city, uniting diverse groups in a shared experience of devotion and celebration. In this way, the alarm clock acts as both a practical tool and a spiritual symbol, reminding all that time itself is a gift from the gods to be respected and honoured. These devices are often decorated with motifs reflecting religious themes: winged bulls, the tree of life, or the symbol of the god Marduk, transforming them into sacred objects in their own right. Their ringing is perceived as a divine voice, calling worshippers to focus, to awaken their spirits, and to participate fully in the mysteries of the festival. Beyond the formal rituals, the alarm clock helps regulate daily activities during the festival period. Merchants pause their trade, artisans halt their work, and families gather for shared meals, all synchronized by the measured chimes that weave through the city's fabric. The device thus reinforces communal bonds, coordinating human life with celestial cycles. You sense the powerful connection between technology and spirituality here. The alarm clock does not merely measure time, it sanctifies it, transforming ordinary hours into moments charged with cosmic meaning. Its sound echoes the ancient belief that the universe itself is ordered by divine law, and that human beings must align themselves with this rhythm to find peace and prosperity. As the festival progresses and the sun sets behind the ziggurat's towering steps, you feel the alarm clock's quiet presence, a steady guardian of sacred time, bridging heaven and earth through its gentle, unceasing call. The warm light of morning casts long shadows across the fertile plains that stretch beyond the city walls, where traders, travellers and emissaries gather before embarking on journeys to distant lands. The innovations born within the heart of Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, begin to ripple outward, carried along ancient trade routes and diplomatic missions, spreading the knowledge of timekeeping and alarm clocks far beyond their birthplace. You envision a caravan setting out from Babylon, laden with goods and ideas, moving slowly through the rugged terrain toward the lands of Anatolia, the Levant, and even the distant Indus Valley. Among the prized commodities are not only spices and precious metals, but also knowledge, texts inscribed on clay tablets, and descriptions of technologies including the clepsydra, or water clock, and its use as an early alarm device. The concept of the alarm clock, with its ability to segment and measure time reliably, finds eager adopters in neighbouring cultures. The Hittites, known for their own complex societies and laws, incorporate water clocks into temple rituals and administrative tasks. Across the deserts of the Levant, Phoenician traders value the technology as a tool to regulate market days and coordinate seafaring expeditions, where timing is critical for navigating the seas. In Egypt, the innovation resonates with existing traditions of timekeeping, blending with the sundials and shadow clocks already in use. Temples along the Nile begin to integrate alarm mechanisms to signal ritual moments, linking the rising and setting of the sun with precise mechanical calls. The device's symbolism, as a bridge between mortal schedules and divine order, echoes familiar spiritual themes, facilitating its acceptance and adaptation. You imagine a scribe from Ur travelling with a scroll that details the construction of a water clock, explaining how the steady flow of water, carefully measured through narrow channels, can mark the passage of hours and trigger alarms with gentle sounds or splashes. This knowledge spreads through workshops and temples, inspiring craftsmen and priests to refine and localize the design according to their cultural needs and available materials. The transmission of alarm clock technology also influences administrative systems. As city-states and kingdoms grow more complex, rulers recognize the value of precise timekeeping for coordinating labour, tax collection, and military logistics. The alarm clock becomes an instrument not only of daily life, but of governance and power, linking distant regions through a shared language of measured time. Despite differences in language, religion, and environment, the core idea endures: the human desire to harness time, to impose order on its relentless flow, and to synchronize individual and collective actions. The alarm clock becomes a symbol of this universal pursuit, crossing borders and generations. As you watch this flow of knowledge and culture unfold, you sense the alarm clock's role as a quiet ambassador of civilization. It carries with it the wisdom of ancient Mesopotamian inventors and the enduring human quest to understand and shape the passage of time. The golden hues of a setting sun bathe a quiet workshop tucked within the bustling streets of an ancient city. Inside, skilled artisans lean over tables cluttered with small tools, fragments of bronze, clay and wood, their hands moving deliberately as they experiment with delicate mechanisms. Here, in these spaces of craft and creativity, the alarm clock begins to evolve from its simple beginnings into increasingly sophisticated forms. The earliest Mesopotamian alarm clocks, primarily water clocks or clepsydras, relied on the steady drip of water to mark the passage of time and trigger a sound at a predetermined moment. Yet, as demand for more reliable and varied alarms grew, craftsmen sought ways to enhance these devices. You can almost hear the quiet drip of water falling into carefully carved vessels, the faint clang of small bells, and the gentle hiss of air escaping through narrow pipes, each sound a step toward greater precision. One key innovation is the use of floats and levers within the water clock. As the water rises, it lifts a float connected to a mechanism that can release a pebble onto a metal plate or trigger a bell to ring. This allows for a sharper, more noticeable signal than the simple sound of flowing water. Imagine watching the water level slowly climb, your attention drawn to the subtle movement until the bell rings, breaking the silence and marking the appointed hour. Artisans also experiment with incorporating air pressure and pneumatics, directing water flow through tubes to create whistles or chimes that add a melodic quality to the alarms. These innovations turn the alarm clock into an auditory experience, one that can wake sleepers gently or alert temple priests with a clear and resonant call. Meanwhile, in parallel workshops, clockmakers refine the materials used. Bronze replaces clay for durability, and wooden frameworks become more intricate, adorned with carvings of sacred symbols. This blend of artistry and engineering reflects the Mesopotamian ideal of harmony between function and beauty. The mechanical improvements extend beyond sound. Some alarm clocks are designed with multiple settings, allowing users to choose different times for alarms or even to set sequences that mark several points in the day. These features are especially valued in temple rituals, where ceremonies unfold in carefully timed stages, and in royal courts, where complex schedules govern every moment. As the technology spreads and evolves, These refinements lay the groundwork for future timekeeping devices far beyond Mesopotamia. The principles of floats, levers, and controlled flow influenced designs for centuries, echoing through Greek and Roman innovations and eventually shaping modern horology. You feel the quiet patience required for such craftsmanship, the slow process of trial, error, and perfection, mirroring the slow, inevitable flow of time itself. Each new refinement is a small victory against chaos, a way to make the intangible measurable and the fleeting tangible. In this workshop, surrounded by the soft sounds of water and metal, you glimpse a lineage of inventiveness that honours both the practical need to mark time and the human desire to create beauty and order from it. The soft glow of dawn filters through woven reed screens, casting gentle patterns on the earthen floor of a modest Mesopotamian home. Outside, the city begins to stir, the distant clatter of carts, murmured conversations, and the occasional call of a market vendor blending into the awakening hum of life. Inside, the subtle sound of a water clock's trickling marks the time for waking, a small but profound influence shaping the daily rhythm of ordinary people and the larger social fabric. You step into the lives of families who have come to rely on these early alarms to coordinate their routines. Farmers rising before sunrise to tend the fertile fields between the Tigris and Euphrates, artisans opening their workshops to craft pottery and textiles, and traders preparing caravans for distant journeys. The alarm clock, once a rare luxury of the temples and palaces, has begun to permeate the lives of everyday citizens, quietly structuring the flow of hours and tasks. This newfound regulation of time influences more than just individual schedules. It cultivates a shared awareness of communal rhythms, allowing neighbourhoods and districts to synchronise activities, market openings, religious observances and public gatherings, all unfolding with a newfound orderliness. The city pulses with a collective cadence, its residents connected by the invisible threads of measured time. The impact extends to social roles and hierarchies as well. Those who manage timekeeping devices, priests, scribes, and artisans, gain a measure of authority as their control over temporal order translates into influence within the community. Conversely, the adherence to alarm signals reinforces social discipline, instilling habits of punctuality, responsibility, and cooperation vital for the functioning of complex urban life. Women too navigate these rhythms, balancing domestic duties with participation in market trade or religious ceremonies, all structured around the calls of timekeepers. Children learn early to respect the division of hours, their education and play shaped by the temporal boundaries set by household clocks. Moreover, the presence of alarm clocks nurtures a subtle shift in how people perceive time itself, from a vague, natural cycle to a more segmented and purposeful progression. This change reflects the broader Mesopotamian worldview, where the cosmos is ordered by divine law and human society mirrors this cosmic harmony. Timekeeping devices become physical manifestations of this belief, bridging the celestial and terrestrial realms. You can sense the quiet transformation of daily life, where the alarm clock is not just a tool but a cultural force, weaving structure and meaning into the fabric of society. It encourages a sense of shared destiny, as individuals synchronize their actions within larger patterns of work, worship, and community. As the day unfolds and the city hums with coordinated activity, the alarm clock's steady presence remains a gentle reminder that time, once intangible and flowing freely, can be shaped and measured to guide human lives with grace and order. The vast night sky stretches endlessly above the ancient plains, stars scattered like jewels on black velvet, each one a silent witness to the rhythms of the cosmos. Beneath this celestial canopy, astronomers and priests of Mesopotamia stand watch, their eyes trained on the movements of the heavens, seeking to understand and predict the cycles that govern life on Earth. In this solemn vigil, the alarm clock assumes a role beyond mere earthly scheduling. It becomes a vital instrument in the measurement of celestial time. You imagine yourself standing beside an astronomer in a temple observatory, the walls inscribed with cuneiform charts detailing the paths of the moon, planets, and stars. The air is cool and still, save for the soft sound of water flowing steadily in a clepsydra, a water clock, whose gentle dripping measures the passage of hours through the night. This device is more than a simple alarm. It is a tool that bridges human observation and the infinite movements of the sky. The astronomers rely on the alarm clock's precision to mark specific moments, such as the rising of certain stars or the phases of the moon, crucial for maintaining the religious calendar and agricultural cycles. When the water clock signals the appointed time, the astronomer records the position of celestial bodies, correlating their observations with the measured hours. These data become the foundation for calendars that dictate festivals, planting seasons and rituals. The alarm clock also aids in dividing the night into manageable segments, allowing observers to rotate duties and maintain vigilance during long watches. Without such a device, tracking time through the darkness would be imprecise and exhausting. The steady, audible calls of the alarm provide markers in the silence, punctuating the hours and alerting astronomers to key intervals. You feel the deep connection between this human-crafted instrument and the vast, impersonal cosmos it seeks to comprehend. The water clock's slow, steady drip echoes the measured passage of heavenly bodies, creating a dialogue between earth and sky, between human curiosity and divine order. This union of technology and astronomy embodies the Mesopotamian quest to impose meaning on the universe's vast rhythms. Beyond practical use, the alarm clock's role in astronomy underscores a profound philosophical shift, the recognition that time is quantifiable and that celestial movements can be systematically observed and predicted. This understanding lays the groundwork for later scientific advancements and the development of more sophisticated timekeeping devices. As dawn approaches and stars fade into the morning light, the astronomers conclude their vigil, guided by the gentle calls of their water clocks. The harmony of human invention and cosmic order lingers in the quiet moments between night and day, a testament to the enduring human desire to measure, understand, and align with the rhythms of the universe. The first light of dawn seeps over the crenellated walls of a Mesopotamian city-state, where the quiet tension of preparation lingers in the cool morning air. Soldiers gather in orderly ranks, their bronze helmets glinting faintly in the soft light, while city officials move purposefully through the bustling streets. In this world of vigilance and order, the alarm clock quietly assumes a crucial role, orchestrating the daily rhythms of both military readiness and civic administration. You find yourself standing on the city's defensive walls, feeling the weight of responsibility borne by the watchmen who guard the gates. Their shifts are governed by the sound of water clocks and small bells, which signal when to relieve sentinels or alert the city to potential threats. The alarm clock's precise timing ensures that vigilance does not wane, that no moment is left unguarded. Within the barracks, commanders rely on the alarm clock to regulate training schedules, drills, and guard rotations. The steady calls summon soldiers from their slumber, marking the hours dedicated to physical preparation and strategic planning. This discipline is essential in maintaining a formidable defence, as the city often faces threats from rival states or nomadic incursions. Beyond the military sphere, the alarm clock influences civic life. City administrators use its signals to coordinate the activities of labourers, merchants and craftsmen. Market openings and closings, tax collection times, and the scheduling of public assemblies are all synchronised through the measured calls of these early devices. The alarm clock becomes a symbol of order in the urban landscape, facilitating the smooth functioning of a complex society. You observe a busy marketplace where vendors arrange their goods, ready to heed the alarm that marks the start of trading hours. Buyers and sellers alike move in rhythm with the clock's signal, their interactions woven into a shared temporal structure that fosters trust and cooperation. The device also plays a role in legal proceedings, where judges and officials adhere to strict schedules to hear cases and deliver judgments. The alarm clock enforces punctuality, reflecting the Mesopotamian commitment to justice and fairness, ideals central to their laws and governance. In the city's temples and palaces, the alarm clock ensures that rituals, administrative duties, and ceremonies unfold with precise timing, reinforcing the belief that cosmic order must be mirrored in human affairs. Timekeeping thus becomes an extension of divine will, linking the mundane and the sacred. As you watch the city come alive under the steady guidance of the alarm clock, you sense how this simple invention fosters not only efficiency, but also a shared sense of community and purpose. It binds individuals to a collective rhythm, enabling a civilization to thrive amid the challenges of its world. In the quiet shadows of a temple adorned with carved reliefs and statues of ancient gods, the concept of time pulses like an unseen thread weaving through myth and ritual. Time, for the Mesopotamians, is far more than measured hours and minutes. it is a sacred force governed by divine beings who control the cosmos and human destiny. Within this spiritual framework, the alarm clock transcends its mechanical function to become a symbol steeped in meaning and myth. You stand among worshippers who listen to priests reciting hymns praising Nabu, the god of wisdom and writing, whose domain includes the recording of time and fate. The ringing of an early alarm device, a water clock signalling the start of the day's prayers, is heard as a divine call, a reminder that the gods oversee every moment and that human lives unfold within a cosmic order. The Mesopotamian pantheon includes deities associated with celestial bodies and temporal cycles. Sin, the moon god who governs months and nights. Shamash, the sun god who illuminates the day and justice. And Ea, the god of wisdom and fresh water, whose creative waters inspire the flow of time itself. Alarm clocks, often crafted with imagery linked to these gods, carry symbolic weight, serving as tangible connections to the divine rhythm of existence. You imagine the allegorical tales told by ancient storytellers of clocks fashioned by gods or gifted to humans as tools of enlightenment, enabling mortals to synchronize with the heavens. In these myths, time is a living river, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, yet always under the watchful eyes of deities who wield control over fate and destiny. The sound of an alarm is likened to the voice of the gods, an awakening call to heed one's duties, honour sacred laws, and embrace the cycles of life and death. It signals moments of transformation, whether the beginning of a day, the onset of a festival, or the start of a ritual journey. In this way, the alarm clock embodies the Mesopotamian understanding of time as cyclical, sacred, and intertwined with human morality. Furthermore, the alarm clock reflects broader themes of order versus chaos, a central tension in Mesopotamian cosmology. By measuring and marking time, these devices symbolize humanity's effort to impose structure on the unpredictable flow of existence, mirroring the divine establishment of cosmic order after the primordial chaos. This symbolic resonance imbues the alarm clock with more than practical utility. It becomes a spiritual artifact, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. As you listen to the faint drip of water and the distant ring of bells, you feel the echoes of ancient beliefs vibrating through the centuries, reminding all who hear them of their place in a grand, ordered universe. The passage of time carries the innovations of ancient Mesopotamia beyond its fertile plains, threading through centuries and civilizations, shaping cultures far removed from the original creators. The alarm clock, born from the pragmatic needs and spiritual depths of the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, becomes a lasting legacy, a subtle yet profound influence on the evolution of timekeeping across the ancient world. You envision a scene centuries later, as Greek philosophers and engineers examine the writings and artifacts inherited from Mesopotamian scholars. They find in these texts detailed descriptions of water clocks and early alarm mechanisms, inspiring figures like Ctesibius in Alexandria to refine and elaborate on these devices. His innovations, including intricate water-driven automata and mechanical alarms, echo the foundational principles developed in Mesopotamia, demonstrating how knowledge can flow across cultures and epochs. In Rome, too, the influence persists. Water clocks and alarm devices become integral to daily life, regulating everything from public events to private routines. The idea of segmenting time into manageable, measurable units carries forward, shaping the emerging concepts of hours and minutes that form the basis of modern timekeeping. Further east, in the Indus Valley and later in China, parallel developments unfold, but the pathways of exchange and adaptation often trace back to these Mesopotamian origins. The essential principle, using the controlled flow of water or mechanical means to signal specific times, forms a common thread in the global history of technology. Beyond technology, the legacy of the alarm clock reflects a broader cultural impact. The Mesopotamian emphasis on measured, orderly time influences philosophical and religious notions of time as cyclical, yet controllable, an idea that permeates many ancient traditions. This shapes how societies conceive of destiny, ritual, and daily life, embedding timekeeping into the very fabric of civilization. You imagine scholars in a distant library, poring over cuneiform tablets by candlelight, piecing together fragments of this ancient heritage. Their work ensures that the story of the alarm clock, once a simple tool for waking and ritual, remains a testament to human ingenuity, and the timeless desire to master the flow of time. In this way, the Mesopotamian invention does not fade into obscurity but continues to resonate, a quiet heartbeat beneath the grand sweep of history, guiding humanity's steps from the dawn of civilization to the present day. You find yourself once more walking slowly through the quiet ruins of an ancient city, where the broken stones and faded inscriptions still hum softly with memory. The sun is low, casting long shadows across the dust-covered streets, and in this stillness, your thoughts drift, not just to the invention of the alarm clock or the clever hands that built it, but to what it truly represents. Time, in the world of Mesopotamia, was never merely a measurement. It was a force to be honoured, a divine rhythm to be followed, a pattern traced in both sky and soil. The creation of the first alarm clock was not just a technical achievement. It was an act of reverence, an attempt to synchronize human life with the vast eternal order that moved the stars and shaped the floods of the Tigris and Euphrates. As you reflect, you see that behind each improvement, the float, the lever, the bell, the trickle of water, there was always a deeper human yearning. The alarm clock gave structure not just to labour or ritual, but to memory, to routine, to responsibility. It stitched the hours into something that could be shared, coordinated, and remembered. In waking someone at a specific moment, it offered more than punctuality. It offered participation in something larger, a shared temporal fabric where lives touched and aligned. It is a tool that demanded trust. Trust in the craftsman who built it. Trust in the water to flow as expected, in the bell to ring. And even trust in the idea that time could be captured at all, that it could be named, measured, divided, and in doing so, understood. That very hope continues through history, from sand to gears, from shadows to quartz. You wonder about the anonymous hands that first poured water into clay vessels, who listened to the slow rhythm of drops falling in the night, who waited in the silence for the first faint bell to sound. Were they priests, watchmen, parents? Did they find comfort in those sounds? Or were they reminders of duty, of sacrifice? Did they know they were inventing something that would never truly leave the world? And now, as centuries have passed and clocks surround us in ways the ancients could never imagine, that quiet Mesopotamian voice still echoes, not in the chimes of a smartphone or the ticking of a wall clock, but in the idea that time is a companion, a soft guide that walks with us, helping us rise, helping us remember, helping us return. So here, among the remnants of ziggurats and courtyards, amid the carved stone lions and scattered tablets, you sit for a while longer. The story of the first alarm clock is complete, not just as a piece of history, but as a reminder of what it means to be human, to measure, to wait, to respond, to belong, to live within time, and to dream beyond it. And so, the story of how the ancient Mesopotamians invented the first alarm clock comes to rest, softly, like the final drip of water into a basin in a temple chamber, echoing in the dim silence before dawn. From the whispering reeds along the banks of the Euphrates to the quiet murmurs of temple halls where priests measured the night, time was never far from their thoughts. It shaped their fields and their prayers, their dreams and their duties. The alarm clock, born not of haste but of devotion, was a gentle voice reminding them, and now you, that time does not rush, it unfolds. Perhaps it's comforting to know that even thousands of years ago, someone else once rose to the sound of a bell or the steady drip of water, rubbing sleep from their eyes as they stepped into the quiet morning light. That someone else, long before you, also lived by a rhythm marked by care, invention, and quiet reverence for the passing hours. So now, wherever you are, in a bustling city or a still countryside late in the night or just before the morning, let your own rhythm slow, let the noise fade. The clocks will keep watch, the water will still flow, and time, as always, will wait for you. Close your eyes when you're ready. Let your breath settle. Let yourself drift. Sleep well.